At Focus on Liberia, we discuss everything Liberia, from education to politics, arts and culture, entertainment, agriculture, history, religion, family, and technology. Focus on Liberia uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct interviews, panel discussions, debates, and more. Tune in to Focus on Liberia on Facebook and YouTube and be a part of the stories that make up the news.
This is Focus on Liberia, and I am Jayjay.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Friday Night Debate on Focus on Liberia. My name is Jayjay, and we are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. In tonight's Friday Night Debate, we're going to be having the Cummings, Brumskine, or the Fixer team versus the Weah, Taylor, or the Incumbent. Representing the Fixers, or Team Fixer, we have Coach Peter Quaweay. Peter, welcome to Friday Night Debate.
Well, thanks for having me. If a democracy is important, the conversations and the people's ideas is important. Democracy is a marketplace of ideas. So I'm always encouraged and happy to share what our vision is as citizens of our country in moving this forward. So I'm really looking forward to having this discussion tonight. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Let me also welcome a member of Team Fixer, that's a Cummings Brumskine team, Mr. Duke Estrada, Jayjay. Duke, welcome to the debate.
Dennis, I've always said it, anytime there's an opportunity to be able to lend my voice to issues of importance, I remain, motivated and determined to educate our people. And I think tonight is no exception. This is a clear opportunity to do our compare and contrast, and the Liberian people will definitely get what they deserve in terms of their education. But thank you, and I look forward to the conversation.
Thank you. Let me welcome Mr. Jerome Gilman of the Weah Taylor team, and he's also a host here on Focus on Liberia. We call him the Unapologetic Sedition. Mr. Gayman, welcome to Friday Night Debate. You're muted, sir.
Thank you very much for the honor to come and repeat. In these United States, usually before we take on debate, you have to reach a certain percentage, public perception. We will be doing the ANC a favor today at 7%. They shouldn't be on this platform with us, but because of your invitation, I am here. I'm ready to rumble. Thank you.
Let me welcome why Michael Gilman is a host on Judea Hard Talk. He's also a Weah Taylor supporter. Mr. Gilman, been a while. Welcome back, Focus on Liberia.
Absolutely. It's been a while since I was on here, this great platform. I'm happy to be back to hold a conversation with my brothers from the other side, Coach Quaweay, Duke, and representing the ANC here. We are here to get a gist of what the ANC is about, and so we are honored to be here. I'm trying to find the video on Facebook. I can't find it.
Right, I will try and send that to you.
Yeah.
Facebook has been very bad to us.
I'm trying to find it to put it on my page.
Right.
Mr. Jai, as a point of correction, I want to start off the bat. We're here to represent the CPP. ANC is not on the ballot. So I would like to make that correction. I hope that the gentleman can just. The CPP is not the ANC.
All right. That's the correction right there. So it's CPP and not ANC. So that's well taken, and I too will take note of that. And Mr. Gayman, if you find it, please share the show with Jerome.
I just seen it. Dorothy, this you just sent to me, and I'm going to share on the GHT page for everybody
All right.
on there.
So thank you all again for coming. As a matter of ground rules is let's keep the debate professional. That's what the platform is known for, and that's what all you gentlemen also you represent. We want to avoid any personal attack. We want to avoid any name calling. By personal attack, people talking about the school or work or insults. Of course, none of that is not going to happen. We're going to go through the points, and we'll have time to kind of engage. But for the first round, I want us to just stick to script and go by the question you've been asked. Each of you, if I have a question for a fixer team, every time you have the opportunity to talk, you have the maximum of 2 minutes, and then your colleague can also come in for another 2 minutes. It's very difficult to be hosting the debate and keeping time at the same time. So I will count on your professionalism to also help me do this. And our viewers want to welcome you to Friday night debate on Focus on Liberia. Let's start like this. In your opening, why should Liberians elect the Cummings Brumskine ticket on 5/10/2023? Starting with the fixer team, each of you have 2 minutes to attempt to respond to the question.
Well, Dennis, thanks. What we've seen in terms of the horrible leadership of George Weah, the disgraceful economy, and all of the challenges that we face in terms of security issues makes voter determined to replace this government. We see that there's complete lapses in terms of judgment from the president. And so the only alternative is somebody who understands how to drive economic results, somebody who understands governance, somebody who comes with a proven record that can give the Liberian people the kind of leadership they deserve. And so that's why we're pushing for Mr. Cummings, because outside of all of the dysfunction we've seen due to Weah's horrible leadership and the incompetent people that he has pushing his message, I believe that Alexander Cummings provide the type of leadership and economic solutions to make our people, feel welcome and actually part of the economy.
Thank you. And that was very short. You took just 40 seconds. Let me go to Coach Quaweay.
Yeah, so great question. Why Mr. Cummings? Why Ms. Brumskine? Leadership matters. That's why. Expertise matters. When we look at how the direction our country is going in now, is not by chance. This is strategic. It is intentional. It is lack of having the requisite skill set to move us forward. When you study or look at how nations are built, and there are many, many examples of that, you will see there's a systematic way in which it happens. Okay, it is built from the grounds up. It is intentional. It is intentional, like I said. Okay, it is done by experts. So when we look at the way our country is going and see how it's helter skelter, right? It's all chocolate. That tells you the person who's leading this ship, the captain of this team, does not have the first idea how to do it. And here's the thing about it. We don't have to go far. We don't have to reinvent any wheels. We simply have to look at how people have done it. And we have many, many examples, not old countries. I'm talking about post-World War II countries, African countries, post-Civil War countries who have successfully followed the same exact model and have become successful and have lifted its people out of abject poverty. So why those two people? Why the new leadership? Because leadership matters, because expertise matters. And they have it, those people have it, and the team that we are facing today absolutely do not, as apparent by how our country looks now.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me go to the team Incumbent. Same question. Why should Liberians give the Weah Taylor ticket 6 more years?
Mr. Ja, I listened to the two gentlemen from ANC, and they said they're not ANC, they're CPP, and they are representing Team Fixer. All right. They should first tell the Liberian people how they can fix the ANC or the CPP, which had so many political parties and they broke away. The CPP is left with two political parties, ANC and a faction of Liberty Party led by Musa Bility. They need to tell us how they can fix that, first of all. Second of all, let them tell us what is broken, what is spoiled. Let them quantify it. And then we're going to come in to explain to them who spoiled it and who is fixing it, and where this government, what did this government inherit, and where is the country at the moment? Because I can safely tell you, and every Liberian, and folks will agree with me, that Liberia is better off than 5 years ago today. You combine the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf 12 years that Mr. Alexander Cummings was an advisor to the now 5 years, Liberia is better off than 17 years ago today. They need to tell us why did Mr. Cummings leave Coca-Cola forcibly? Why he couldn't fix Coca-Cola? All the lawsuits Coca-Cola incur on him. Coca-Cola lose over $1 billion on Alexander Cummings. They need to tell us those problems. Tell us exactly. Let bring it to the local. What is point in Liberia? All right.
Thank you.
What is point in Liberia? We should not come here to talk about. I heard you talking about.
Thank you, Mr. Gilman.
Thank you.
Thank you. The 2 minutes is up, and you didn't answer my question, but that's your time. Let me go to Mr. Gayman.
Yeah, we got two people here.
Mr. Gayman.
Yeah.
Why should Liberians give the Weah Taylor ticket 6 more years?
Well, it's very, very easy for those of us who are looking at the facts. One of the things that I like was when you and I spoke, obviously, we discussed that everything should be fact-based. And like I told you, we have the numbers, so we have no problem. First of all, let's look at where the country was when President Weah had it. The inflation rate in 2018-17 was at 30%. It is now 7.8%. The Liberian government, when we came in, the entire country had a total road network of 700 kilometers. We are now to 1435. We have built more roads in these 5 years, 5.5 years, than the country have ever built since 1847. We are talking about free education. The University of Liberia, under the previous administration, TWP, the highest enrollment was 3,000. Today, because of President Weah, the enrollment at the university is 24,000. We are not paying Wyatt fee anymore. We are building hospitals everywhere. Go to Grand Bassa County and see the fairground that was built in 1964 by President Tubman. That road was dusted. It has now been paved. And we go on and on. We are talking about building parks and recreation. Any society, any city development, if you don't have park and recreation, you have nothing. Since 1847, this is the first time we are now introducing parks and recreation. If that is not enough, I don't know what to tell you. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me go to my second question, and I'm starting with Team Incumbent. In a head-to-head matchup between the two tickets, why is one ticket better than the other to earn the votes of the Liberian people? So let's start with the Incumbent team. Why is the Weah ticket, the Weah Taylor ticket, better to earn the votes of Liberians 2023 October? What's the advantage over the Cummings Brumskine ticket.
Mr. Gayman, you want to go? And then I come after you.
Okay, great. This is a very easy one that anybody can hit on the ballpark here. First of all, we are talking to a team that have no administrative government policy, public policy experience. The vice president from the other side, when I looked at the profile that was sent to me by Ava, I took back, it is so shallow. From the lady of 47 years old, from the time I followed her from New York to Washington, D.C. to Liberia, there's no experience. There's nowhere there where she has worked in any corporate America or in a governmental position where she has been in a supervisory role. Never. It never happened. In Liberia, there's nothing. All we are hearing is that she's a lawyer. Everybody is one. I know today I heard that for the first time that Alex Tyler considered himself Councilor Tyler. Then I looked around and found out that Edwin Snow is a lawyer. I mean, everybody is a lawyer. Like, if that is the qualification, then everybody in Liberia will be qualified to run Liberia. But this government, President Weah, from being the UNICEF ambassador, for a man who stopped the war in Liberia, to a man who became senator. I mean, it is obvious. When he became president, he's the only one that brought in a coalition government. People who actually voted against him and sabotaged it. He brought that leadership. This man took over this country when Ellie and the True Party were running Liberia. They had 15,000 UN troops. When President Weah came in, he had nothing. Yet and still, he had kept the peace. People talk about the country that's safe, but when you look at Kekula and all of the Yakula and all of the 4 o'clock in the morning, they're in a club dancing. Said, I'm living the best life, my best life, my best life. 4 o'clock in the morning in a country that they perceive is not safe. So, my friend, this government, compared to anything else, this is the best we have ever had.
Thank you, Mr. Gayman.
Thank you very much. I mean, why did Weah Taylor second term? Why should the Liberian people give the CDC or the Coalition for Democratic Change another chance? It's as simple as can be. All right? Look at where this government came from, what they inherited, the Weah administration. Let's be realistic for once. All right? This government came to be as a result of the grassroots support. Okay? They inherited in the national coffers $7 million for operation to pay salaries to run the government. $7 million. They inherited $150 million in the reserve at the New York Stock Exchange. $150 million. All right? Don't take my word for it. Ask the former finance minister. That because he said Samuel Twelve should not whine about meeting $7 million in the coffers. When he took over in 2012, they met negative $26.6 million in 2012. Alexander Cummings was there advising Ellen Johnson Sirleaf because she handily brought him in from the United States, where nobody knew him at the time. After she told him, said, you can come and replace me, then he started going around to the Liberian communities and dishing out 10,000 everywhere he went. Okay? The government left from $7 million in the operational account, $150 million in the reserve, to paying right out the door, day one of President Weah incumbency, to pay LEC $6 million so that Liberians can benefit electricity that they have today.
Thank you. Thank you. Now we go to the team fixer. Same question. In a head-to-head matchup between the two tickets, why is your ticket better than the other, the incumbent?
You know, Dennis, 2 minutes is pretty short to respond to all of the fallacies.
We'll have time to respond. So just answer the question. I will have, after this one, we have the rebuttals.
you know, here's a simple fact, right? When we say fixers, and the reason why we're equipped to fix what has been broken by our corrupt government is that the 5 million people in Liberia are still yearning for economic prosperity. Under this government, there hasn't been any traction. In addition, let's talk about the orchestrated killings in government. Today, the families of Gifty Lomba, Odell Sherman, and other Liberians, Matthew Innes, have not gotten justice as reported in the United States report. But what we offer is something that's different from this corrupt and dysfunctional government because we're practical about leadership. Yes, what we're looking to fix unemployment. As we all know, the pro development agenda has not created a single job in the Liberian private sector. But we're going to do that using our 46 and 100 method. Yes, how are we going to do that? So we're offering that over 6 years. We're going to reduce unemployment by 40%. And how are we going to do that? By adding 100,000 jobs annually to make sure that we put our people back to work. These are the kind of solutions that we're looking for. We're going to drive that based upon practicality, looking at different regions and economically potent regions that we're going to use as a short-term option, our natural environment. Look at medium-term economics and long-term economics to make sure we're putting people to work and empowering our young people with the skills needed. So the option of Alexander Cummings as the solution agent, as an individual who provides clarity and all of the things that the Liberian people need, comes because he comes in with this level of expertise and understanding of the private sector that's going to yield results. Something that we have not seen in the current president, something that we've not seen from the CDC administration. And actually, I would love to go to the numbers, and I hope during the next session, we'll have the time to dig a little deeper and give the Liberian people the facts.
Thank you. Peter?
So this discussion is already turned into a comedy. And here's the thing that Liberian people need to understand. I need to be very, very, very clear about this. These are the people, the excuse makers, the finger pointers. These are the people who have held us back, held our country prosperity hostage for a long time. These people are asked, why your guy? Why should you get 6 years? Mr. Gilman started off saying, tell them to go fix CPP, finger pointing. Okay. First of all, ANC, we didn't say we're not ANC. We're saying ANC is not going to be on the ballot. We're CPP. So let me clear that up. Okay. Talk about, ask them who spoiled it. This is the language of people who have nothing to offer. All they want to do is fight. These are the people who have held our country back. These are people who have been in position of authority for years. Excuse makers. Let's talk about how nations are built. Who's got the formula? How many private sector jobs have you created? You talking about YSF and people going to the University of Liberia and how the numbers have increased. What jobs are those people getting after they graduate? How nations are built, they start with foundational education. That's how nations are built. Okay? That's how Singapore was built. Countries that have much, much higher illiteracy rate than we did, much less resources than we did. And you guys want to sit here and make excuses and lie about what things. We're talking about job titles. Let me close here. We're talking about job titles, right? Oh, she's never had a managerial job. Who did Weah manage before you guys made him president? Where? Name that place successfully. Okay? So when you want to talk about, we're talking about bureaucratic experience. You're not going to just throw out jargons and terms out here and think it's not going to get checked.
Thank you.
What we are saying is we have the knowledge to do it. We have someone who's done it before, and he's laid out a concrete plan, and he can tell you step by step how it's worked in other places. Not some, you don't have 7%, you can't talk to us. What have you done with the numbers you got?
Thank you. Thank you. So at this time, I'm going to give chance for responses, right? So we'll have one from each side. So at this time,
thank you.
Incumbent, you respond for 2 minutes.
Yeah,
and then we'll go to Victor to respond, and just like that.
Right. Thank you. I mean, to come to these intellectual forum and call it a circus is like a waste of my time. That people don't have anything to offer and so they come and say it's a circus. All right. You talk about mysterious death. Eh? Didn't we get reports? Didn't we get autopsy reports? Is it? You talk about Gifty Lama and the other gentlemen. Have you not seen or heard of people having sex in the car in this United States of America and they died? I can play you a video right now of people. All right. I can. All right. You talk about job creation. Why did President Biden address the United States today? Because 339,000 jobs were created. Was that government job? Was that government job? Are you trying to tell us that since President Weah came to be, there hasn't been one job creation? Do you see how many restaurants are there? How many entertainment centers owned by Liberians? Do you see how many people, the very gifted Princess Copper you talk about? Princess Copper had a transport business. From one, she managed to get 25 pen and motorbikes. Isn't that employment? We spoke earlier about 17,000 peacekeepers were in the country when the Unity Party government that Alexander Cummings was an advisor to was shooting Liberians on the streets. Peaceful Liberians. Today, we don't have, from day one of this government, we don't have anybody shooting anybody on the streets. This government has provided security. And this is why growth is pouring all across the country. You cannot say there hasn't been job creation by this government. What have you done, Alexander Cummings' team? What have you done with all your expertise, your know-how? Explain to the Liberian people tonight, why did Coca-Cola let Mr. Cummings go by force? Explain to us tonight.
Thank you.
So, Dennis,
hold on, Duke. Hold on, Duke. Yeah. So we'll go to the fixer team now for your 2 minutes.
So, Dennis, I think it is unfair to address the issue of growth using only 2 minutes. It doesn't serve your listening audience.
That is
Everybody get 2 minutes.
Right? Hold on.
Don't interrupt me, though.
Don't interrupt me.
Hold on, guys.
Just the truth is, hold on, Dennis. We want to bring substance to the conversation, right? Yeah. And what we're seeing here are the incompetence of George Weah and people who know what they're talking about. When Jerome Gilman come here and insult victims on this show, it shows the kind of person he is. This is a horrible man. This is a despicable man. And you know what? If that was my family member, I swear I would have punched Jerome Gilman in the face. And just what I say that, because you know what? You don't insult the victims. You don't insult people who have been murdered by a government, as stated in the report. If that was my family member, I guarantee you, I would not sit across and allow that to happen. It is disrespectful. It doesn't represent this show. Have some respect for the victims. Don't insult their bodies. Don't tell people they're having sex. Don't be disrespectful. This is exactly why George Weah is the way he is. But let me speak to the facts, because you know what? These are things that distract us, and I want the listening audience to get substance. Let's talk about competence. You talk about government experience, and you mentioned George Weah. George Weah came into the presidency with a government experience. But let's go back to George Weah's time as senator. What is it that George Weah presented as a senator that shows the Liberian people that he was a successful public servant? Absolutely nothing. And guess what? It followed him into the presidency. We want to talk growth. Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, in her first term, overall, on average, within 6 years, created 7% plus economic growth. Under George Weah, we have 1.08% overall in economic growth. You understand me? Now, let me use quantitative and qualitative analysis just from my expert opinion. Gayman, listening to me. You may be educated. Let's use this scenario, Dennis. Let's use Guinea, Sierra Leone, and Liberia. If we look at the three countries, we can agree that all of them experience the same kind of economic condition, and even worse in Guinea and Sierra Leone. Guess what? In Sierra Leone, there was an arrest due to a protest that cost the lives of civilians. In Guinea, we saw the coup d'etat in which the president was removed. In addition, those two nations face an issue with the COVID pandemic. So when we average the economic performance, including Liberia, Guinea averages are 5.30% in growth. Sierra Leone, 3.8% in growth. Liberia, 1.08% over 6 years under George Weah. Is that what we call economic success?
Thank
That's
you.
absolutely not economic success.
Thank you. And Duke, let me state again, we want to keep this as professional as possible. I don't want you to
That
talk
when
about
you're
punching.
insulting the victims of
Yeah,
abuse, that is wrong. I cannot sit on the platform
Hold on, Duke.
and allow a gay man to insult.
Hold on, Duke.
Hold on, Duke. You can't do that.
Hold on, Duke.
You can't do that.
Hold on, Duke. You can speak about that without talking about punching him in the face.
We can speak without insulting their bodies.
Hold on, Duke.
I think the outrage should be expressed, right?
Duke,
the
right.
individuals who insult their bodies.
I understand the outrage
in our country. So I get your point, but I think the outrage should be directed at people who come on the platform to disrespect somebody that was murdered by his
and that's
I think we owe it to the victims and the family to stand up, and I think that's what FOL should stand for.
Duke.
I think you are giving him a lot more time.
Duke.
No,
just hold on.
The man is angry. The man is angry. You're giving him more time.
You insulted the victims. You insulted the
angry.
Duke, you can make your point.
Insulted
their bodies. The first time the first time Duke was recruited.
That is wrong. I'm just telling you.
Duke,
let's go to the issue.
I want order, please. Duke, I want you to please. There should be no fight, no physical attack here, and let us keep it professional. I beg you. Let me go to Peter for your 2 minutes.
Can you go on record to tell me that we should not insult?
Dude, can you please let me run this?
Can you mute this man?
Yeah,
Dude, can you please? Let me go, Peter.
The man was trained by ANC to insult people.
Hold on, Gayman.
The very first time he was recruited in the ANC.
And you are trained to insult their bodies on a platform.
Come on now, Duke. Peter, go ahead. Your 2 minutes.
Yeah. So I want us to keep this debate as civil as possible, so as not to give people an excuse to escape, and for us to face each issue one at a time. It's clear as day. I want to go back to what I was saying. When you come on this platform and says that the government that you serve right now created jobs, and you can't tell us the jobs number, that's shameful. That's embarrassing. Okay, when you say inflation was reduced, but can't tell us the specific policy put in place that can be fact checked, that brought down the number, the inflation, that is embarrassing. You want to talk about Yakula dancing at 4 a.m.? Yeah, because she's a human. That's what we do. So when we cannot say in one breath, don't get personal. And the other hand, you say, I'm going to attack someone's personal life. Let's keep the facts on the table. This government has not studied any government as to how it's built. And here's what you know when you study them. There is a distinct formula in which governments are built. Distinctly. You start with your foundation education. You start with mercantilism. That is the government supporting the businesses to grow, just like Mr. Cummings plans on doing and laid out a cleared out plan. Let's talk about those things. The plan that you say George Weah has, where has it worked before? We can all come out here and say, here's the money that was spent for this. Here's the money that was spent for that. When, where was money generated for our country outside of begging? What economic worldview does George Weah have? Where has he expressed it? Tell us so we can go to that place and play it. His economic plan, who has it worked for? You guys talk about a pro poll, right? You stole something, you plagiarized something from India that you cannot implement because it's not yours. Tell me, how many Liberians have that lifted out of poverty? You want to talk about the schools. How many jobs can our kids get? How many published professors are teaching these kids when they get to universities?
Thank you, Peter.
How is that helping our country?
Thank you. Let me go to the incumbent team, Jerome.
Yeah.
Your response or rebuttal.
Yeah, Mr. Quaweay, I worked in the United States for the past 25 years, and nothing you said that makes sense to me. I work at the Chamber of Commerce as Executive Vice President.
Dennis, I thought we were not allowed to do that.
Excuse me, sir. Excuse me, sir. I work as president of the ACLU. I work with the city. I work with the county. And my job when I worked as vice president for the Chamber of Commerce in Lucie County was to go and entice corporations to come to St. Lucie County. 4 questions I have to answer every time I went to recruit. One was utilities. Do you have utilities? Do you have roads? Do you have telephone, telecommunication? Do you have utility? Do you have light? Do you have those things? The second question is education. Do we have the workforce? All of these questions are things that you will answer. When you talk about how nations are built, I am not reading something. I am telling you what I have managed and what I have done in this country at the highest level. You want to build a nation, how the nation is built, those questions will be asked. Do you have, everybody talk about tourism. Do you have the infrastructure, the road to go to where you want to go? If I wanted to go to the Jida Forest, how do I get there? When we are talking about utility, you saw the president just for the first time bringing utilities back to the country. You are talking about how did we raise money when we took over, when President Weah took over, the budget was $550 million. And most of that money came from the foreign donors. Now, with all the foreign donation drying out, the George Weah government had done internal revenue raising to raise it to almost $1 billion. That is economic growth. That is something that can be, it is tangible. You can see it, it is there. When you read a Cornell University report, it says the Liberian government was operating under the United Nations Economic Plan, which was $700 million was coming from the UN peacekeeping force in Liberia. When they left, the economy collapsed. You had nothing.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Well,
is there any way to rebut? We
have
30 seconds to rebut. There are a couple of things I have to touch.
Right. Hold on, Peter. We have a long night, and we'll have time for all this. You are watching Friday Night Debate. We have Cummings, Brumskine, the fixer team, versus Weah Taylor, the incumbent. This time, we're going to turn it to the incumbent because we are talking about the records of the incumbent versus what the fixer are going to fix, right? So at this time, we're going to come up or asking the incumbent, let's look at the Weah Taylor record on the following and what the coming Brumskine ticket will do differently. So we want the incumbent team to defend the record, and let's start with democracy and the rule of law. Team incumbent, what's Weah Taylor record on democracy and the rule of law?
Unmute my microphone.
And then when we get to the fixer team, what will the Cummings Brumskine team do differently? Let's start with incumbent.
Thank you very much. I want to go back a little bit before I come to what we'll do differently with the rule of law.
No, what right? Your record on the rule of law.
The record on the rule of law. Yeah, we have it. All right. I listened to my brothers there from the perceived fixer. They haven't told us yet what they're going to be fixing, what's part. All right. But when you talk about the economy and job creation, all right, in 2022, the CDC government achieved a 5% growth. All right. Medium term outlook went up to 6%, reduced extreme poverty by 8% over the last year. And this data, you can find it at the World Bank Poverty Lab. All right. Talking about rule of law. The government that Cummings advised has 17,000 peacekeepers. This government got nothing. All right. The public safety, the police budget was increased. The army budget was increased by $4 million in 2022. And that cutting soldiers pay 20%. That was always cut by the Barker Salif government, supported by Alexander Cummings. Police had their salaries increased, their budget increased, AFL force was strengthened, increased in size. The police increased in size. I'm telling you, and a whole lot more. This is why Yakula, Mariah Yakula, then and others that leave from here, from the ANC, this is why they can go to Liberia and party in a nightclub all night long, because the police, the state is safe. Under President Weah, the state is safe. That's why they can dance in the nightclub 3 o'clock in the morning. I love my life. I love my life. All right. We can come here. We're almost 40 minutes into this program. They have not told us what they want to fix. They have not told us why the Cummings got pushed out of Coca-Cola, or costing Coca-Cola over $1 billion in lawsuit. They have not told us what, I mean, they can't even challenge the information. All right. This is no child's play.
Thank
You know,
you.
that's
So
why
Dennis, let me come in there,
Thank you.
because
Hold on, Duke. We'll go to Gayman, Jerome, and then we'll come to the fixer team to defend the record on democracy and the rule of law. Mr. Gayman.
Well, let me quote the outgoing ambassador on BBC when the BBC correspondent pushed him to the wall and said, "You are saying some things to the Liberian audience that you wouldn't say in Paris, you wouldn't say in London." Then he said, "Well, that is one of the advantages that we have in Liberia, the freedom of press." He says, in the West, you guys will have suppressed that information. But in Liberia, they printed it. They took it. Then we want to look at, you talk about freedom. Let's look at the House of Representatives. Let's look at Honorable Yeka Koluba. Look at his performance. Look at what he does on behalf of the ANC and the CPP. Not once has he been arrested. Not once has he been held for saying things that regular folks wouldn't say, normal folks would say. We have heard the likes of Costa, who was saying, we kill the president, we will drag his body in the streets. These are things that you wouldn't say in any other country. But yet and still in Liberia, we went ahead, the president went ahead and signed the Peter Quaweay Act, I think that's what it was, where we decriminalized speech. Honor Joseph Walker and Cummings, where he was advising Ellen Johnson Sirleaf.
right.
Our boy Rodney Seal was in prison. Okay, in fact, again, 300 years prison term and 100 million, whatever that was.
You're right.
These are things that happen under these people. Under this government, we had no political prisoner. We had nobody. You can say whatever you want to do. In fact, everybody in Liberia is a journalist. You can write whatever you want to write. You can do whatever you want to do. You are free to do so. Liberia is the freest of all the countries that I know, including the United States.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's go to the fixer team. You've heard the incumbent, their records on democracy and the rule of law. What will Mr. Cummings and Councillor Brumskine do differently?
So I'm going to jump in real quick and try to use my 2 minutes to just say, Liberian people, if you ever wonder why the country looks as it does, you're looking at the faces right now. Those are the people. That's the reason. Excuse makers and liars. Here, I'm not trying to be disrespectful. Please give me a second. I'll explain to you what I mean when I say liars. You just said the country was safe. I was just in Liberia. I don't know when's the last time these two gentlemen ever been to Liberia. Okay? When you tell the Liberian people, I don't know the last time you were there, sir, Mr. Gayman. When you tell the Liberian people, and I want you to keep repeating it. You're not going to interrupt me, sir. You're not going to interrupt me, sir. You're not going to interrupt me, sir. You're not going to. You let me start over. He's not going to interrupt me. I don't know who he thinks he is, but he's not going to do that. When you're speaking,
Mr. Gilman,
I mute myself and let you talk.
Peter, I'm trying to calm him down, so I stop the clock so that you can have your time. Right?
You
Mr. Gilman,
when you have your time, you can't break my flow neither.
Go ahead, Peter.
Peter need to drink some water.
Okay, so I'm going to go back to what I was saying.
You having a Marco
These are
Rubio
the
moment?
excuse makers, and he's interrupting me again.
No, I'm just saying you're having a Marco Rubio moment. Go ahead, drink your water.
Come on.
No, stop using things in wrong context. Michael
Mr.
Rubio was
Mr.
actually
Gayman, Mr.
disoriented. I'm
Gayman,
not. Okay, so stop just saying things like your job you just quoted that has nothing to do with nothing. So again, these people are the ones who goes back to Liberia and say, I'm an expert at this, my job title is blah, blah, blah. He doesn't know the first thing about how nations are built. He's talking about how Liberia is safe. Say that to the Liberian people. Go say that to them. Go say it to the kids on the bikes that are getting kidnapped and killed because someone wants the bike. That happens every day. Go tell them that. Go tell the KK boys that. Go tell the girls getting their bags stolen by Zogos in broad daylight. Go tell police officers who have to sit there and panhandle. I will post the video. Day after day, trying to stop a car from going, and the car is just driving by. They have to beg for money to survive. Go tell them that you increase their pay. These are lies. These are lies. When you talk about, I go to places, and the first thing they ask me is, do you have education? What's the education? Yes, because this is already a developed country. Tell me the country you have studied. Here's how nations are built. Not after you kid. America didn't start in 2023. America started with mercantilism. America started with giving businesses money to grow their business. And they built the Transcontinental Railroad. And they give tax breaks to businesses who want to start it. And they did that for pharmaceutical companies. And they give them land grants. And they give young people homes. It was called the Homestead Act. The same thing happened in Singapore. The same thing happened in Taiwan. The same thing happened in England. The government supported people. They didn't wait for people to go to universities for them to give them money. They started with tertiary education and foundational education. Foundational education, because that's where it starts. You start from K to 12, and you give them the best training, the best teachers. And that's why in the 1820s, America made sure to institute a public school system, because they understood that foundational education is how to grow. How you grow your business? Mercantilism. You help the, let me close on this. Let me close on this. You help your business people. You help them grow. You give them expert training so they get to compete with other people. When you have a free market, then your economy grows. The government doesn't do it. They support the people doing it. You have yet to tell us what country you study that you understand their growth and how it happened.
Thank you. Let us use the time wisely. You use like 3 minutes, 24 seconds. Duke, you heard the records of the CDC government, that's the Weah Taylor team, on democracy and the rule of law. What will Mr. Cummings do differently?
You know, Dennis, I opted to come on the show because I felt that it was going to be substance driven and not comedy by individuals who have no idea what they're talking. And to see adults behaving in this manner is disgraceful. And I hope we don't ever have to go through this again. This is so immature, and it doesn't need to happen, especially from people who should be at the latter stages of their life. But let me bring some clarity and some level of sense to the discussion, since we're talking about issues for people to understand and not comedy. When these individuals sit on this platform,
Duke, let me interrupt you quickly. Let us stick to the question we are asking.
So
keep this very simple.
Dennis, you have not done that.
Yeah, please.
No, Dennis.
Yeah, I mean, you heard the records.
Dennis,
let's talk about what Mr. Cummings is going to do differently. Go straight to the point.
Dennis, you have sat here while these gentlemen were disruptive, insulting, and you never made a comment.
Duke.
And we respond. No, it's the fact, Dennis. I will share specifics with you. He was interrupted.
Right. And when he was interrupting, he didn't insult. I told him to stop.
Yeah, but when this
let's go to the substance of the issue and keep this very professional.
Dennis, we will speak to the issue.
Let's do that.
No, but Dennis, we have to exercise some level of control on both ends. You can't.
I'm trying my hardest to do this. And
Dennis, listen to me.
I'm trying my best, Duke. Please, let's stick to the issue.
Dennis, I think, Dennis, did you intend for us to have a really, educated conversation, or
That's really what that's what I'm
well,
wanting you to stick to
you're
the topic.
allowing one side.
No, that's not true.
And disrespectful.
No.
You're not
When they
coming
interrupt you, I told them to stop.
You-
But it doesn't mean you got to veer off and just talk
no,
about
no,
all
but,
these things.
but
Let's go
Dennis,
to the issue, dude.
so yes, Dennis. Here's the thing: we can either exercise the same level of frustration with the other side, right?
No, dude, I'm really getting no, Duke. Let us please answer the question. Let's go to the issue.
Dennis, I will answer the question. Dennis, going forward, you have to be very direct with this individual because I cannot.
I've been doing this consistently, Duke. Let's stick to the issue.
That is not the case tonight, and I want to put that on record.
Duke.
When we sit on a platform,
Duke, please go to the question.
Go to my point. Just 1 second. When we sit on a platform and we have
the more we do this, the more we waste time, the more we encourage all this back and forth. Let's stick to the issue.
I'm making my point,
and you're
interrupting me. So
because I don't like the way you are taking this, please.
But Dennis, you haven't done a good job actually controlling your guests.
That's what I'm doing because I'm not being able to control you.
So when we sit on a platform and individuals spew lies about defending your government and this record when it comes to security and protecting the citizens, then it is up to us to provide the facts. The gentleman here mentioned the U.S. ambassador, but what he didn't also disclose that the same ambassador called this government out for being engaged in the execution of his citizens, as included in the U.S. government report. We have auditors that were executed by the government of Liberia. We have young people in that country that died mysteriously, and to this day, there's not any justice for them. The issue of justice starts with leadership. We have to be intentional. We have to be direct about how government provide justice for victims of orchestrated killing by government officials, or be it outside of government. How the coming administration is going to be different is this. We're going to make sure that our justice and accountability system work. That's why Mr. Cummings told you that on day one, he's not going to accept a salary as a president. That money is going to be redirected to accountability sectors to make sure that our laws and those who are taxed with the responsibility of seeking justice for victims are actually doing their job. In addition, when it comes to the sexual-based and gender-based violence that we see in this country, wherein our young girls are getting raped, our young boys are getting sodomized, we believe that a lot of those cases are still on the desk of our legal system. We've got to find a way to make sure that those people are getting justice and the people who are accountable are put behind bars as indicated by our Constitution. We're going to be different because we're going to be intentional about our approach. We're going to empower those sectors. We're going to make sure there are people who are held accountable, and there will be no interference from the executive branch of government when it comes to making sure that we're prosecuting people who are guilty as well. Finally, we just witnessed people, drug smugglers, walking free in that country because of the poor justice system we have and the interference of the executive branch of government. That's not going to happen in the Cummings administration because we believe that we have a constitution that anybody found guilty of disobeying the laws of Liberia should be held responsible based upon the extent of that the Constitution provided as required by our laws.
Thank you. Let's go to point number 2 on food security. Let's go to the incumbent team. Tell us the CDC government record on food security.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jai. There's a whole host that we can point to, but to allow these guys to ring insults, to act so unprofessional.
Let's go to the question.
We're going to the question. We're going to answer the question, but they're not going to slide. They're not going to slide with lies and misinformation. Okay. The gentleman Quaweay talk about the Trans Highway of 1865. No, it's my. We are two people here. I can respond to them, and Jerome Gayman can go with your question. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That's how we decide to do it here.
Okay.
So please reset the clock. Thank you.
Yes, I did.
Thank you. All right. Quaweay came here to talk about Transcontinental Highway, as if to say he knows the history of the United States. This project began in 1865 to 1965 with the Chinese, the Japanese building the highways from California, from the West Coast to the East Coast, from the South to West to North. Okay, you can't talk about job creation and the government of the United States funding farmers and businesses, and you don't talk about the PL 480 that benefited Liberia right after the World Wars. The PL 480 is a law in these United States of America that sent free food to Europe to revamp their economy, to use the proceeds from there to build their country. And when Europe said, no thanks, but no thanks, we don't want it no more, they thought about where to send it. They sent it to Liberia. And you folks, you talk about people being in leadership for decades. The people that have been in leadership for decades, that like Alexander Cummings and others, who don't know that people living next to him in Point 4 were living in abject poverty. But he lied to us that he was born in poverty. But when he sat before the white journalists in South Africa, he said he came from a middle class where his parents could afford. And after high school, he did not even mention that he went to Cottington. He said he came to America. Okay? Those are the people who were born with silver spoon, who used the proceeds of the PL 480 that should have developed our country. They squander it. All right? Those are the people. You don't talk about that. You talk about the reports by the U.S. government that people have been killed in our country. You know what the Alexander Cummings do? He paid a lobbyist in D.C., Dr. Allen White, to do these dirty tricks, to go and lobby Washington, D.C. to impose sanctions, $180,000, and that contract was renewed. Okay? That money could have put people to work, could have built schools, could have done a lot more in our country than what Cummings is planning to do here. You talk about sodomizing young boys. Who have a lifestyle that they struggle with? Who has a lifestyle that they struggle with? You want to question the justice system in our country? It's the same justice system that said Cummings was not guilty of fingering the document. But now the justice system is not good. You guys need to be real with yourselves, man.
Thank you. Thank you. Jerome, let's learn about your record, or the CDC government record on food security.
Yes, as you remember, when we came into, meaning CDC, when CDC came into power, everything was in shambles, and we can't blame everything on the former president, because she came to rebuild a nation that was destroyed. There was nothing there. So just within that, when the president came in December of 2019, the Weah administration and the World Bank formed a partnership to build our rural community and our farming system. And they decided to begin with the youth. And it says here, the approach by the government, this is from the World Bank, the Youth Opportunity Project is aimed to increase access to income generation opportunity for young people in the rural area. And the World Bank said the results were 12,000 youth in rural and urban areas received life and business training towards agriculture. 10,000 youth living in rural communities received farming inputs and labor subsidy to engage in community-based farming. Point 3, it said youth supported with farming inputs and labor subsidy by the project cultivated 12,000 acres of land of rice, cassava, and others to contribute toward feeding of the country. We are not saying here, we are not quoting, it's right here, the World Bank report. So these are things we are talking about when we are talking about when President Weah came, things that were not there. The president has now put in place things that will actually have this country to take off. The president is talking about things that roads that will help folks from farm to markets. There is no reason why our farm, our bread basket in Lofa, they cannot take their food from Lofa to Bassa. And then people from Bassa with our seafood and everything else cannot go to Lofa. So you see where we are going, when the president said we are going to connect all 15 counties, capitals. And from there, we are going to go and connect the country. All of these things are all the base. When we talk about how you build a nation, my friend, we are not talking about that. This is how you build a nation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's go to Team Fixer. You heard the CDC records on food security.
Yeah,
what will Mr. Cummings and Councillor Brumskine do differently?
So let me quickly go here. Again, Liberian people watching, understand this. All this yama yama is how we've been held back, right? If you listen to Gilman, I like the name Gilman and Gayman. Let me start with Gilman. If you listen to Gilman, he brought in the transcontinental highway. First of all, no one's on my highway was San Railroad. Number one. Number two, I don't know where that story was going. All I said was America subsidized businesses and helped them to grow. And that the transcontinental railroad was an example of that. England did the same thing with coal. Okay. Taiwan did the same thing. Singapore did the same thing with farming. So all I was saying was how the government used mercantilism. That means they took money that they had and supported private sectors. And that was an example of it. They also did with land grant universities. Okay. Anyway, let me get off of that. And you want to attack Mr. Cummings. You keep trying to attach him to Ellen's government. Keep trying to attach him to Ellen's government. Mr. Cummings, as a businessman, as an international, multinational businessman for a Fortune 500 company, yes, offer assistance to our country as to how to help the business in Liberia. He did do that. That he had nothing to do with policies. He had nothing to do with the government. Stop this. Everyone can see right through what you're doing. You just want to attack and blame and point fingers. All the things you're saying, how has it uplifted the lives of Liberian people? You can't say that. You can't tell us by which means, by which level. You talk about how the subsistence farming that is taking place in Liberia, and it's a community-based farming. That's not what Liberians want right now. Go look at the women in the market, like my mother was. The market women. They want their kids to go to school. They want to be able to sell the market. They want money. They need money infused into the country, not just have a big spender like he could go shake the tree like you're going to get plum out the tree, some more money will fall. That's not how it works. There's a specific and direct way you built a nation. You can't say that because you guys you don't even respect it enough to study it. Rwanda just went through a brutal civil war. Look at their economy. And they too are using mercantilism, and they too are using sovereign wealth fund to build their country. There are things that people do. Lastly, let me close here.
Peter, you are almost 3 minutes. Let's go to Bill.
Okay, let me close here. Liberian people say you know the Christmas by the Eve. We've seen the Eve, and this is not Christmas we want.
Yeah. Peter's actually addressed
let me restate the question. Let me restate the question. Mm-hmm. You heard from the incumbent, the incumbent's records on food security. What will Mr. Cummings do differently?
Dennis, if the record was working, we wouldn't have an economy that has grown by 1.08%, while the rest of our peers in the Mono River are averaging 5 to 3%. So that right there is your proof to tell that the George Weah administration is not doing anything. But yes, what we're going to do differently. We see there's a vast opportunity in leveraging technology, not at the expense of our farmers, because they still have to be touchbearer of our agriculture reform and food security. But we're going to make sure they have the skill set, the training, access to finance, and make sure that they understand, right, the concept and the methods of globally competing. We understand that we're up against countries who have actually prioritized the technological side of agriculture, and there will be that room of opportunity. So to be able to get there, we've got to fix stronger laws within our banking sector or opportunities that will empower farmers in the rural areas. In addition to that, we've got to find our niche market. That's key. The Cummings administration is going to put a lot of resources in getting our farmers to that point. We believe that's a clear opportunity. Over time, within the 6 years period, we want to make sure that we have actually invested in technology to bridge the gap in terms of what we see. There's a complete void when it comes to our rural farmers to those in other nations as well. But in addition to that, Dennis, let me just throw in this point here, since Peter has covered a lot of the agricultural piece. When our brothers here keep talking about their government success, the only thing that quantifies success are actual metrics. And I'm glad they're using the World Bank report. The same World Bank report says that this government has not performed compared to its peers. So how can an underperforming government still be a solution for the future when our people are still impoverished according to all of the metrics that have been presented or put forth by the World Bank? We're going to do things different because agriculture is going to be that leapfrog opportunity to create jobs and spur economic growth. It's going to be the opportunity for our farmers to become engaged on a global scale. And it's going to be an opportunity that we're going to leverage because somebody who understands the practical environment in Ellis Cummings and is way smarter than the current president of Liberia is going to make sure that we're pushing laws, we're pushing solutions that drive results.
Thank you.
And
no, Gilman, I'm coming. You will have time to rebut. I want us to touch on the last point here on the records. And what is, let's talk about the Weah Taylor records on gender equity and the fight against sexual and gender-based violence. What's the record?
Thank you very much, Mr. Jayjay. Thank you for such a great program so far. All right, but Mr. Gayman will go into that, and then if you leave out anything, I will come to it. Let's go back to agriculture and food security that these guys spoke about. All right. First and foremost, they want to. We are in the position. We are doing. You know what the government have done? Provided 60,000 farmers, over 60,000 farmers with agricultural grants, millions of dollars. 60,000 farmers completed 200 kilometers of feeder roads to strengthen agriculture. They want to do it. All right. This government has placed Liberia Forest Reserve at the center of climate change agenda. You know this president, what he got from Egypt when he went there, climate change. All right. You know what Alexander Cummings said to his publicist, Rodney Sie, when Rodney Sie asked him about his agriculture plan? The video is there, right there on YouTube. He said, Rodney, we're going to take 3 years. We're going to take 3 years to think about the agriculture sector. Okay? These guys do not know their leader. They cannot defend him. That's why almost hour and 20 minutes or more, they have not told the Liberian people how and why did Alexander Cummings leave Coca-Cola. This man cost Coca-Cola over $1 billion in lawsuit settlement. He was not good for Coca-Cola. He's not good for Liberia. He was never good for Coca-Cola. If you got employment, you got people in your employment who are not productive, who are not producing. This Liberia is not a company where the board of directors gave you a file at the end of every period and said, this is what we want. We have to create new routes for Coca-Cola. We have to open new stores. This is about life and death, decision making. And this team is not ready. That's why you see the two gentlemen here. They are not fully representing him. They don't know him. They don't know him. They don't know his worth.
Thank you. Let me go to Mr. Jerome Gilman. Let's talk about the Weah Taylor record on gender equity and the fight against sexual and gender-based violence.
Thank you very much. As a sociologist, this is what we do for a living. We look at scripts, we look at trends, we look at issues, and then we do the comparative analysis. I think when President Weah came to power, he was the first president, and that a male president that actually said that everything within my power, within the CDC, we will do all we can to bring a third of our membership into leadership. It was President Weah whose administration had the first senator from Moderator County. In fact, Mr. Dillon, he said it himself. He says, this guy, you can say all you want to say about President Weah. It is he who goes into the ghetto when he lifts your hand. you become somebody. He said, who was Geraldine Sharif in this place? He lifted her hand. Who was Penner? Miss Penner, who knew her? George Weah lifted her hand. See, every hand he lifted, he went into, you name it, he has done it. It was President Weah who sat along with the chief Zoe himself, Zanzan Quaweay, and said, our gender-based violence, we have to bring it under control. Our culture, some of these things are so archaic. We want to keep our culture, but those that are barbaric, we need to get rid of them. And we have that convention where it was pronounced that we, as a cultural people, those things that do not benefit us, we need to abandon. It was under this president. It is under this president that the vice president, Joel Howard Taylor, were given the opportunity to tour the entire country without the president, to go out there, do investigation, have an impact. And she just came back and made a report. This president, as I'm telling you, the title that were giving him, feminist in chief, the reason they gave him that position is that every fight that has to do with girls, women, president has been in the forefront. It was this president that was the first president that brought DNA machine to Liberia to curb domestic violence and rape. This is important.
All right.
Thank you. Let's go to Team Fixer.
Yeah.
Please, your response to the records and what Mr. Cummings and his team will do differently.
Yeah, you know, one thing that the vice presidential candidate brings to the table is that she has championed in her own private life outside of government the fight for young girls in that country. As a legal expert, she's taken up thousands of cases involving female genital mutilation, abuse of women in the country. And so that's a record that we're proud of. But then this is important, as I stated, for us to be factual on the show. And that's what we've brought. We've brought a lot of facts versus propaganda. Here's the truth. I want to read this, a letter from the Coca-Cola, a global company, by Alexander Cummings. It says, a highly respected leader within the Coca-Cola system, Cummings joined the Coca-Cola company in July 1997 as a deputy regional manager for Nigeria and quickly advanced to become president of Coca-Cola Africa Group in 2001. A native of Liberia, West Africa, Cummings led a period of strong growth in Coca-Cola's Africa business, overseeing critical investments in marketing and infrastructure across 56 African countries and territories from 2001 to 2008. This one is important. Alex's legacy will be as a leader who focused on growth and made us more efficient and effective. He also has a passion for our people and a vision for building sustainable communities as part of our local businesses. We wish him well on his retirement and will make him available or use his expertise in the future. You see, there's a difference between running campaign smear, than the actual truth. This is a global corporation with billions of dollars in assets under management, with a documented record of excellence and growth in one of the most respectable characters that's ever come outside of Liberia. I want these gentlemen to show me where George Weah, right, has been praised for growth, decency in communities as part of any organization. Mr. Cummings was never investigated for anything related to misappropriation or anything related to lawsuits of the Coca-Cola company. He has been a growth expert. He has been a model individual, and as proven by this letter submitted by the Coca-Cola company, he comes with the highest level of excellence. But finally, there, Dennis,
Then we need to start reading you.
Go back to the substance real quick.
We need to start reading you.
The truth here is, right? You see, they're interrupting me now.
Yes, Gilman gets to interrupt whenever he wants.
Hold on.
This is funny.
He's interrupting.
You pass your time. So
I muted him. Please go ahead.
Yeah, you see, but we started to say something. But anyways, you know, so when we talk about standing up for women, and you have a country under a president that still have more unresolved cases when it comes to women issues in that country, the murders of women, right? We've never seen an increment in the murders of women than we've seen before under the George Weah administration, as indicated by Gifty Lama, the Princess Cooper, the Odell Sherman. A lot of women in this country have been violated by the current administration, as indicated in the U.S. report. So I think it will be different because we come with an already established vice president. In addition, Mrs. Cummings, the potential first lady, is already taking on this issue on a community level as well.
Thank you.
So hopefully I can get through my 2 minutes without being interrupted by one of these two dudes. But let's start with the DNA machine. That's where I want to start. I think the DNA machine was brought because we was being accused of impregnating so many Liberian ladies, and they just had to find the right ones. But anyway, you talk about competence, and Weah is firing people. Senator is competent. You guys, you do realize Liberian people are listening to this broadcast, right? Because they can hear you. You say he's a feminist in chief. Do you even know what feminism is? Do you not see the litany of women who have been killed, who have been victims in that country? You think our women feel safe? Saying that he's a feminist in chief is belittling to our women who have gone through and going through what they're going through now. And you guys should apologize. I think you think this is a game. You said when he lifts people's hands, that person becomes a person. What's the last person hand he lifted in the last 3 years that won an election? Didn't CDC have to pivot to go independent and hide who they were? Who hands have we have lifted? Here's the thing about what you guys are doing. We don't have to do much. Everything you're saying, the Liberian people are hearing. When we go, I just came from home, like I said, 2 months ago. When you're on the Pampin boys and the keke, the kids driving the keke, they can hear that. The farmers and their family, my family at Grand Jide in Boston, they can hear that. The people in Nimba can hear that we give them this, we give them that. So if you think what you're doing is good enough, then go for it. Keep repeating what you're repeating. But what we're not going to let you do is lie. Duke just read the accommodation from Coca-Cola. Mr. Gilman, I would like you to read your letter where it said Mr. Cummings cost them billions of dollars. Let me close on this right here. I'll post the article so everyone can read it objectively for themselves. 60,000 farmers got help by George Weah. Show us those farmers. Let these farmers come out. All you guys want to do is smear people and make up lies. And how else can we tell you what you're saying is not truth unless we call it a lie? We're not trying to be disrespectful, but what you guys are doing is you're disrespecting the pain and suffering of our people. You have no idea how to build a nation, how to run a nation, and you just think you're just going to put salt on other people and then you're going to stay in power because you saw on other people. It's not going to work.
Thank you. Thank you. At this time, we give this time to Rebuttal. Again, if you are just joining us, this is Friday Night Debate on Focus on Liberia. The Cummings Brumskine Fixer team versus the Weah Taylor Incumbent team. Let me go to the Incumbent for Rebuttal.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Ja. You see, we stated here that these two gentlemen don't know. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. We stated here earlier that these two gentlemen do not know Alexander Benedict Cummings Jr. All right, for almost 2 hours, I've been talking about Cummings being forced out of Coca-Cola. He just got a letter from somebody. You saw how many times he went off camera. All right, he just got a letter to come here to read letter about Alexander Cummings. What that tells you. All right, but first, let's go to some stats here. They talk about World Bank report. The very World Bank reported that this government inherited an economy with a 32% inflation. The very World Bank came back and said this government was able to reduce inflation to single digit, 6-7%. Under whose watch? Samuel Twe. You call Samuel Twe, that's the language Alexander Cummings always spoke. That this government full of incompetent people. All right. You look at the character display here, the characteristics display here by Duke. The first time this young man was recruited in the ANC, and he published a Facebook post that yes, I joined the ANC. I went there to go asking questions that insults. He responded to me with insults almost 5 years ago. He responded to me with insults. So it's no strange that his attitude here tonight. All right. You came here to read Alexander Cummings' letter. Tell us. I can name a bunch of lawsuit settlement from right there, Atlanta, Georgia. He paid the black workers for discrimination, employment discrimination, over $125 million under his watch. In Mississippi, he paid another $192 million under his watch. And I can name it on and on and on. Over $1 billion in lawsuit settlement. Okay? You talk about job creation. How did Alexander Cummings' DC lobbying firm, when he hired Dr. Allen White to lobby Washington, D.C., to impose sanctions, to make the government appear bad and present him to be good, what did it do? What job creation did it do for Liberian people? What did it do for the Liberian people?
Thank you.
Yeah? What did it do? Tell us, how did Alexander Cummings leave Coca-Cola? Don't come here with that fake letter and talking about he was a good man and this and that. Don't do that.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's go to the fixer side for rebuttal, and then we'll come back to you.
Yeah. I will jump on that real quick, and Peter will come. You see, you know, there's a difference between propaganda and logic. On the show tonight, there's one group that came here with logic, and the other group who's engaged in propaganda, and it shows. Let me educate them. First and foremost, I'm glad you're monitoring my camera. I cut the camera off because the lighting in the living room fell down and crashed here, right? And so there's something damaged on the floor, if you want to know. Let me also tell you, since you monitor my Facebook post, that if you go on my Facebook wall, you will see that I've shared this letter probably 1,000 times. Thirdly, you want to appear to be this person with good judgment, but you sat on the show and insulted dead bodies. You said that a gifted llama who was executed by your government was engaged in sex in a car, and that's how she died. This is the kind of person you are. A really evil man who does not have respect for women, and as you stated on this show, so don't put your what you are on me. Dennis, let me make a point here quickly. You see, the only thing that serves as a factual basis or proof, tangibles of a government success are the same economic indicators. These guys are running around with the World Bank numbers. Again, I will say this. Under Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, the first 6 years compared to George Weah, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf ended up by averaging 7% in growth. George Weah, 6 years, 1.08%, a different or pretty close to 6% margin, meaning that Ellen Johnson Sirleaf performed more. But let me get into the benefit of the doubt, Dennis, and I'll make my closing point. Ellen Johnson's worst year as president, the final years, the last 6 years, wherein she actually incurred a global crisis, including Ebola, versus Weah 6 years, wherein he had the issue of COVID. Ebola was worse economically. Ellen averaged out 3.8%, 3.6 something percent in average growth. George Weah still 1.08%. So the Blue Revolution was based on the fact that the Ellen government was not working for the downtrodden, and that George Weah was the one that would provide solutions for the poor people. Instead, George Weah created more poverty, as indicated by the UN Bank, the World Bank report, as indicated by major economic indicators. And so to come here and make this about a comedy show versus the number, let me use quantitative and qualitative analysis. Using all of those to bring facts to the table, the numbers show that George Weah has been an underperforming, poorly presented president, and it shows in our economy. Those are the facts, and that's not propaganda.
Thank you. Let me go to Jerome.
Yeah. So
Jerome, I will come to you. We'll go to we're alternating. Mr. Gayman.
Yeah, obviously, I can tell that Mr. Duke and his partner have never worked or done anything in higher America, so they go. Let's talk about the
Mr. Gilman.
Mr. Years in finance.
Gilman. Hold on now, guys.
Years in leadership.
Hold on, guys. Hold on. Mr. Gilman, let us avoid about people work in America.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah,
I agree. Let's keep away from that.
Okay.
I don't want us to get personal.
I agree with you 100%. But let's go to something in management, okay? Something that we do at a higher level called the law of average. Hey, law, I wish I was in the classroom so my student can. The law of average is it doesn't matter how much you make, at some point, you will come back to the mean. That's what was happening in the Ellen Johnson economic system, where the money coming to Liberia had nothing to do with Ellen Johnson's salary. $700 million coming from the UN when they have 15,000 employees on the ground. They were renting buildings, they were renting cars, they were buying gas, they were renting hotels. I mean, you name it, they were putting money into it. It had absolutely nothing to do with us. The law of average says after the United Nations left, we were going to come back to the actual reality, which is where we are at this point. So now let's talk about Coca-Cola here. You will never find any picture or anything where Alexander Cummings is retiring, where they gave him, like we always do in corporate America, right, where we have a going away party. We give you a wash or we give you a gold platter. I have not seen that. I have not seen that. And if they had it, they will show it. Now let's talk about Coca-Cola Liberia. You say he ran Coca-Cola for 59 countries in Africa. Liberia, I like what Jayjay told me. He said, let us stick with the facts. So I went and did this. Here is Coca-Cola came to Liberia in 1948. The highest it have ever been. Employment was 180 people they have ever employed in the Republic of Liberia. Cummings is from Liberia, my friend. What has he done in his own home country? Yes. We're talking about if the Christmas is going to be good, we want to know it on the eve. I'll tell you what, Mr. Cummings performed dismally in Liberia, and if he did that in Liberia as a CEO for Coca-Cola, he would do worse as president. That tells you he has no leadership ability. He has no idea how to run institution, definitely not government.
And let me state this.
Hold on, dear man. I'm going to go to Peter now. Peter, your rebuttal.
Okay, so couple of things. I am going to stay where I work. Brown University. That's where I work. So for my profession, the Arizona Cardinals Professional Football League. That's where I've worked. So when Duquesne University, the University of Rhode Island, those are places that I have worked. Those are places that I've gone through multiple interviews and beat out other people, including a bunch of white people. Okay, this Liberian boy from Tulsa Field did that. So let me go to the points that we're trying to make. So don't come here and question where you've done whatever charity thing you work for. Why are you talking?
Give me you say you're a sociologist.
Hold on, Mr. Gayman. Go ahead, Peter.
Okay, for some reason you think you have some higher ground. You don't. All you have is age, nothing more. Not accomplishment over anyone. Let me go down the list of things I want to talk about. When you come out here, Mr. Gilman, and you talk about someone's lifestyle, we heard what you said, and then you have a nerve, the audacity to say, Duke insulted me. Are you not insulting a person when you trying to call them and trying to? Are you not when you call him a homosexual? Are you not doing that? It's not what you're doing and try to emasculate that person. You're shameless with that. Let me keep going. When we talk about how nations are built, we talk about things like measurements like the Human Growth Developmental Index, where Liberia is ranked in the bottom 4 of the world. And not only that, they said that number factors in government official kids. That means from the age of 0 to 17 years old, how successful this person would be if put in a first world country. Our country is ranked bottom 4 countries in the world. This is how we're measuring growth in the country when we talk about the Christmas, you'll know by the eve. You guys have no idea about how nations are built. Okay? You talk about how Duke is not making sense. Post your letter. You just saying, oh, he for $1 billion, they got sued. When? How? Post a letter. Post your facts. You're lying on a man. All you have is to disparage people. You have nothing to show. You don't understand how education works. You don't understand how the health sector works. You don't understand how the economy grows. None of that. You can't prove it. You can't show it. Okay?
Thank you.
All the things, I'm not, let me finish. All the things
we are going by time, Peter.
In our land, you can't let them interrupt and break my flow.
When they interrupt, I stop the clock.
So let me finish. all the money you say that it had nothing to do with Ellen Johnson's relief. First of all,
Nobody interrupted him.
Hold on, Gayman. Please end your thought.
Nobody interrupted him. You always stopping us when you say, hold on, we stop.
Peter, please end your thoughts. You have 10 seconds.
When you talk about how Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, first of all, we're not here to defend her. Secondly, when you say Ellen Johnson had nothing to do with the money that was in the country, Weah has nothing. Policies have nothing to do with any good that happens in that country because it doesn't have what it takes.
Thank you. All right. At this time, we're going to go to...
I didn't offer any rebuttal.
No, you were the first to rebut.
All three of them offer rebuttal. I didn't offer rebuttal. You asked me a question.
No.
You asked me a question.
No, you did. You did. You exhausted your time, man.
On rebuttal, you were the first to rebut.
You were the first.
Hold on, Duke. Duke. I got it. I got this.
Let's go ahead.
So at this time, we're asking about the incumbent to defend the record. This time, we're going to flip on the other side. That's the fixer. So one question here is, let's look at the Cummings Brumskine records and preparedness of fixing things. And Mr. Cummings have not had much experience in Liberia, but what we can measure is since the political season, right? So let's start with Mr. Cummings' records on the preparedness of fixing things, starting with the CPP, the ANC, We Tire Suffering Rally, and everything, all the political scene. Let's talk about Mr. Cummings' records on those in fixing things that will tell us that he can fix Liberia.
You want to go first? Or you want me to
go? Let me go first since I'm hurry yet. So, Dennis, when people throw a law of averages and stuff, and I think they misunderstand what probability is. And imagine I was sitting on this platform, a man who say he's an expert in what a sociology will lecture me, a finance guy. Gayman, I have more than 15 years in finance. I've worked at a high level in corporate America for some of the biggest brands. I've led teams of 50, 100, right? As young as I am. By the time I reach your age, I will have been more accomplished than what you will show. Income and everything, and we can provide the statement. Let me get to the facts.
Let me stop you again. Let us avoid this kind of attacks through.
They attack me, so I have to make it clear.
No.
Right? You insulted me.
I told you let us avoid this.
On the issue, Dennis.
Yes, please.
Let's talk about the CPP there. When Mr. Cummings took over the CPP, there are a lot of challenges that he faced, and one could say that under his tenure, the CPP could have collapsed with all of the attacks that he faced internally. But he showed leadership and he led the CPP to a successful electoral pieces, wherein they won the incumbent in Moderator County and other places. Actually, this is the most win that occurred for any opposition political party in a merger. So we gave it to him. In terms of fixing relationships in the opposition, when Mr. Cummings was up against individuals who were working with the Weah administration, including Serena Cephas, who is now sanctioned by the United States government, in our normal settings, you will see people throwing tantrums. But I think he showed poise, he showed leadership by respecting our processes in the court, right? And when the opportunity presented himself, challenge it. And to this day, that case was actually dropped because it was baseless, as indicated by our international partners and all of the things that they brought as evidences. It shows a man who's tested. It shows a man who understands leadership. It shows a man who's got the temperament, a man who will be a better leader than the George Weah. And finally, Dennis, when people talk about public sector experience, I want us to ask the question, what exact experience are we talking about? Are we talking about experience now wherein we have almost 90% unemployment of young people, young girls getting raped without justice, our citizens are getting murdered under a government without justice? Are we talking experience wherein the current president does not even know how to write his name? Are we talking experience wherein we have a government that's only created 1% in growth as compared to his predecessor that averaged about 7 to 8% in tenure 1 and tenure 2? Are we talking about experience to this day wherein our people cannot get the type of leadership that they deserve? We want an experience that allows us to be potent in the private sector. This is what Mr. Cummings brings. And I think with that expertise, he's going to be able to provide results in the private sector and create jobs for our people.
Thank you. Peter.
So let me piggyback and continue to go where Duke didn't touch. Mr. Cummings has bureaucratic experience at the highest level in the world, in the most competitive economy in the world. Mr. Cummings from the Pillsbury Company did not get his jobs because he knew someone. Anyone who's ever worked in corporate America, I work in academia, we know how hard it is to move up with a competitive environment, especially with the type of people you're competing against as an African man. I'm not just saying black, African man. Mr. Cummings brought a Fortune 500 company to sub-Saharan Africa with all the roadblocks you could think about that an African country would have, and did it successfully. I challenge Mr. Gilman to show these shortcomings that he says he has proof of. Just show it. Just produce the facts. Okay. When you say government experience, do touch on something else I want to say. What do you mean? Liberia is a Republican form of government with separation of powers. Anyone working in the judiciary will have no more experience that was serving better in the legislative branch. Two different job functions. Anyone working in the legislative will have no more experience to work in the executive. You know that. You're trying to be misleading to our people. And here's the thing. Because you have these monopolies and you have these monologues and no one challenges you, you get to share and say, oh, this man don't talk like you. Look at how he talk. But guess what? If it was up to Mr. Cummings, every Liberian child will sound like he's from London, the US, Australia. We will make sure they have an opportunity to go to other places achieved, just like other countries who's been built have done for their citizens, just like Israel have done, just like Russia did, okay? Just like all the Southeast Asian nation countries did. Send their people out and they'll come back and contribute. So when you people talk about how people talk and Mr. Cummings is a stranger, this is what we're saying to you. Mr. Cummings understands business. Here's how the world works now, fellas. The world is about business. Every nation is built now on a business model. And that's what Mr. Cummings intends on doing.
Thank you. The incumbent team.
Yeah, Mr. Jay, I hope you understand that you've given these guys, each of them, 3.5 to 4 minutes. I hope you understand that.
No.
I'm looking at the time here myself.
No, I did not.
Yes, he did.
He spoke for 2 minutes, 38 seconds.
I hope you know that. So
no, I know that. Go ahead.
Let's provide some information here. Since these guys want to talk about insults and insulting the president, let's call a spade here. All right. How is Ebola? How is Ebola more worse? How is Ebola worse than COVID? When Ebola was just within 3 countries, and COVID messed with the entire world, when no planes were going anywhere for over 2 years. What kind of people are these? They're talking about the president cannot spell his name and they can't distinguish between Ebola and COVID. These guys are jokers, man. All right. You're talking about how prepared are you to fix things? Alexander Cummings gave $70,000 to fund a protest with tire suffering. That money was stolen by his office staff, the chief of staff, Louis Brown, Manupaka Dumoy, the driver, and other staffers. $70,000. Nothing has become of it. He has not fixed that problem. He's bringing these criminals back to the Liberian people. Money stolen from him. He can't tell the Liberian people what happened to the money. The CPP collapsed, all right, under his watch, just like he did Coca-Cola factory. And you're talking about we don't have the information. I just told you right there in Atlanta, Georgia, all right, where the lifestyle is more rampant. I didn't say that he is a homosexual or a gay person, but his own recording, his own interview, he told the late Mamadi Diakate, it's a lifestyle that I struggle with. All right? It's a lifestyle that I struggle with. What does he mean by that? It's a lifestyle that I struggle. You want to talk about CFA sanction? Serena CFA sanction? You know what Ellis Cummings do or did to get Serena CFA sanction? You want to know? He paid for it. He paid for it. He paid Jerome Verdier, Dr. Allen White, and then you listen to a certain U.S. congressman tell Yasini Martin Pehe, one of your chief scribes, was in that sitting at the Tom Lantos Human Rights Committee. Yasini Martin Pehe, Jerome Verdier, Michael Mueller, Dr. Allen White, who received $180,000 from Alexander Benedict Cummings on record. Contract renewed. Hold on, don't cut me up. Contract renewed. Yeah, all right. So, and the congressman said, bring me in the list. We will tell the Biden administration to impose sanction. That video is there. All right.
Thank you.
And you talk about the president cannot spell his name. Are you shooting me? Is that how you guys think about somebody who went to school, who Darius Dillon praised when he got his master's degree and said, I'm proud of you. I'm next in line. You should be telling that to Darius Dillon and not to the president.
Thank you. Let me go to Mr. Gayman on the preparedness and the records of the Cummings Brumskine team on fixing things with the LP, CPP, ANC, with target suffering, and so on and so forth. Or his political
thank you very much.
experience.
Coach Quaweay, if you are Brown tomorrow or Monday when you go to work, go to Bradley, the Brown University Hospital. My son works there at 23 years old. One of the top people there, and you would know what we are talking about. But let's go back.
Top people there.
Let's you are a coach. Let's talk about the incompetence of and the unpreparedness of Mr. Cummings. When this man, I like his parable. He said, when the Christmas is going to be good, you know it on the eve. What this man has done in Liberia, handling himself, if that is any indication of what he's going to do, then no wonder he has 7% and he's going to get even less. Because for the guy who said he works in corporate America, where timing, preparedness, logic, numbers are key, this man does not have a staff that we can look at today and say, these guys are prepared. Here we were when Azeva Tukwa was his chief of staff. He fired Azeva Tukwa for what he said were not amenable to his style, his standard. But then in the same breath, he turned around and hires Brown and Dewiah McIntosh. I mean, you are talking about some of the worst characters of all kinds in Liberia. How do you fire a man like Asif Atukba for calling the president names and then hire murderers, killers? When you look at the Human Rights Report, when you look at the TRC report, Brown is listed. These people are listed for murdering folks. And what did he say? He called himself Mr. Clean, and finally he came out and said, I admit I have to work with everybody. This is not leadership. This man is not ready.
Thank you. That takes us to again, the preparedness and the record and how will Mr. Cummings and his team fix healthcare, the Zogo crisis, the justice or the court system, and corruption.
Yeah, so let me quickly jump in. I don't know what one of the top guys that I can check up on it. And Bradley Brown's in partnership with Bradley Brown. Bradley's not the same thing. Anyway, economic. What is George Weah's economic worldview? What is his educational worldview? I would like you to tell us that, please, at some point. You can't, Mr. Gilman, a person cannot pay for sanctions. That's not how the world works. Maybe in your head, maybe in Liberia it works like that. That's like saying, I'm going to pay the policeman in America so he can go and charge you with murder. It doesn't work like that. Stop repeating it. Stop repeating it. Sanctions are placed on people with evidence. Okay, that's how it goes. It gets placed on people. It's not someone lobbying to get someone charged with a crime. Please stop doing that. It's embarrassing. Other people can hear and see this. We're not. This is not in a vacuum. Thirdly, you talk about the stolen $70,000. You know why we don't know what happened to the stolen $70,000? Because we have an incompetent government. The person was captured, brought to the government, and the government has yet to prosecute this person. What is Mr. Cummings to do? Go and pull a robot and put him through a trial, through the jurisprudence process? That's not how it works, Mr. Gilman. Learn how the world works. Stop this. It's embarrassing. Other people are listening and can see you say these things. Okay. What else? Cummings did not hire Mr. Brown. If you say he hired Mr. Brown, in which capacity, Mr. Gayman? How did he hire them? Working in a collaboration with people is not the same thing as hiring them to work in your office. All you guys have to point out are smears and lies. Stop. This is the only reason you got people's ears. George Weah is not the only person who grew up poor. I grew up poor. Mr. Gilman, you look like you grew up poor. Okay? You grew up poor. Like, we all grew up poor. What are you doing for the poor people now? What have you done that's going to make their lives better? The old man is selling boni in the market. How is our kids? Those people are working hard to send their kids to the best possible school. How are you making their lives better? What's your economic vision?
Thank you.
How are you going to infuse money into the country? That's what people want to hear. All you want to do is smear, point fingers, and lie on people. This is embarrassing.
Thank you.
There's no other people can hear this and see this. Stop doing it.
Thank you.
Wow.
Let me go to Duke on his Mr. Cummings fixing healthcare, the Zogos crisis, justice or the courts and corruption.
Yeah, thank you, Dennis. You know, one group here with policy and facts, and the other groups engage in propaganda, right? And so that's what I will stick to going forward. What we've seen under the incumbent government is a complete breakdown when it comes to our disadvantaged young people. I was in Liberia, I registered to vote, by the way, I'll be voting. And every pocket of Liberia you go, Dennis, I went to several counties. You will see these young people in different areas, right? Completely disadvantaged with no plan. The Cummings administration sees that as a potential problem, security issue, a threat to national security, and an economic issue. So on day one, we're going to establish rehabilitation centers in several regions that we've identified. Those rehabilitation centers going to be, used to be able to solve the issues, right, that these young people are facing. But just solving it from a medical perspective does not deal with the root cause. So the root cause is, how can we then take them and give them the kind of skills to become functional members of our communities? So that's what we engage in our local community. We engage in our students, our teachers, our church, different youth organizations, and we'll also promote vocational training as well to make sure that those young people get the kind of skills that they need to become productive members of our society. In addition to that, when we talk about the issue of healthcare in that country, we can look at it from several perspectives. But here's the main part. Our people don't have the money to go to the hospital. I talked to a young lady today who said she was sick. And I said, but go to the hospital. Well, Chief, how am I going to go to the hospital when I don't even have money? One of the things that we're going to do different is that we're going to identify up to 6 years old, free of health insurance. Our elders up to 65 and up, to make sure that they have access to free health care. But people who fall in between and they're not part of that group, we're going to make sure that we create an affordable healthcare system that takes that into consideration, an economy that allows them to be able to afford that. Yes, I would do it. We're going to introduce a healthcare system that allows our people to take advantage of that. Is going to be focused on preventive healthcare, because some of the things that our people are suffering from, curable diseases, are killing them, and those are the things that we need to identify. But all of those components can only work if we create the type of economy. That's why we have introduced the 46 and 100. 40% reduction in unemployment over 6 years, with 100,000 jobs annually created using ecotourism, using actual movements within our private sector, making sure that from an entrepreneur perspective, that our market women and our fathers who are engaged in businesses have access to lending opportunities to become key components of the import markets in that country. And from a finance perspective, from an informed perspective, yeah, 1 second, Dennis, you get to do that by making sure that we're working along with the Commerce Ministry and using ingenuity to drive results.
Thank you. Let me go to the incumbent team. Definitely, we have a fixer coming in because something is broken. Right. So tell me, the incumbent team, why you should not be held responsible for breaking healthcare, local crisis, justice, corruption, and speak to Mr. Cummings' preparedness and ability to fix these things.
First and foremost, their team is not prepared. Alexander coming down to the last person, they're not prepared. All right. To tell you how prepared this president is or this government is. All right. You talk about inheriting an economy with negative 32% inflation rate. And now you from demo, they said that President Weah just created 1%. So in order to be positive, you have to first reduce that negative 32%. That's simple fact, simple logic. Simple. You cannot get your report card 50% on your report card, and you did not make a 90 and you cover that 50. You got to make 90 to get 70%. So if you talk about the president created 1%, you must know he first of all cover up on the negative 32%. All right. You talk about CPP honor Cummings with create free education. The first school that Alexander Cummings has in Monrovia. What is the school fees? Do we have Mount Quebec child going to that school from Raditown Market, from Jogbentown Market? Do we have Zobo daughter going to that school? Do we have Pay son going to that school? No, because the fees are exorbitant. You talk about when Christmas will be better, you will know from the eve. The first and only school he built is for rich people with slippery names. Okay, not for me and you. All right. Healthcare. You talk about healthcare in this country. United States of America cannot even provide 100% free healthcare for her citizens. When you go to the hospital, they give you prescription. When you carry your insurance card or you pay, they give you prescription. You go to the pharmacy, you buy your drugs. You guys should not fool the Liberian people, man. Okay? This government created or built a lot more hospitals than any other government in the history of our country. The construction of the Emirates Hospital, the construction of 14 military hospitals that Alexander Cummings was one of the first patients. Okay? The Redemption Hospital is ongoing in Quaweay. Doctor salaries. You talk about paying people good living wage. Under Ellen Johnson Sirleaf government that Alexander Cummings supported, doctors were making $700. This government increased their pay from $700 to $2,000. In addition, 2,500 health workers who were on subsidiary payroll got on the government payroll. All right? They were being paid by the international community. When they pull out, the government had to put them on the payroll. Provided specialist training for over 50 doctors, something that Cummings and Sirleaf could not do. 500 supplementary health workers got on the payroll. COVID-19. The government, Liberia was rated one of the best countries.
Mr. Gilman, thank you.
Africa, the 7th best country in Africa. Provided advanced-based special training for 101 doctors.
Thank you.
You guys, y'all don't mess with the records, man. Y'all have nothing to run on.
Thank you.
Dennis, are we allowed to insert after the that's fine.
Go ahead, Jerome. We are still looking at the Cummings Brumskine team, their preparedness and ability to fix healthcare, the Zogo crisis, the justice system, and the fight against corruption. Go ahead, sir.
Well, I remember 2012, we were in a staff meeting, and one of the senior staff from the White House said, if the opposition is going to say something whether it is John McCain or whatever it is, they have to give it to us in writing so we can peruse it. Mr. Duke and Coach Quaweay, we have been, I think they've been, this, like you said, we've been around this house, this circle so many times. Now, can you go to any platform and have the policy? You see, do reading. That's something he's reading. He's just reading.
They're sending him papers.
Listen.
Hold on, guys.
There you go. Listen.
Stop this. Stop this. Speak to the issue. Let's get the people substance. Let's bring some kind of dignity to this conversation. Give us the numbers. Give us the statistics. Let's give the people real evidences. Let's not make it lazy. We're on one of the biggest and most educated platform. Bring substance. I'm ready for it. Let's talk. Let's talk.
All right, I'm resetting the clock, Jerome. Go ahead.
So we are saying here, put your platform. What you're going to do, how, when, where, who, put it there. And it has to have the corresponding figure, economic figure, where you're going to get the money from to do it, who's going to do it, when it's going to be done, how long it's going to take. All of these are things we call measurable outcomes. Mr. Duke is over here. Not once have he ever mentioned those professional words called professional words that when we talk about measurable goals, measurable outcomes. I did not expect that from Coach because Coach has a different measure of a different measure metrics of measuring athletics. But when we talk about leadership, when we talk about governance, when we talk about corporate responsibility, we're talking about measurable goals and outcomes with measurable corresponding numbers to go along. They do not have it. Every time he's reading, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. If you are going to identify the country and put that into 4 regions, when he says Zogos, you're going to host them, who's going to do that? How much is it going to cost? Where the money is coming from with a $900 million budget? None of those things. For the man who say he works in numbers, I am shocked. But this metric should be rolling off his tongue that we're going to hire 500,000 folks at $400 a month and $200,000 here and there. And this is how long it's going to take. And this is how we're going to measure success. This is how we're going to measure failure. None of that stuff. This is why President Weah is going to win this thing hands down.
Thank you. Thank you. Before we get into a little bit of back and forth, let me ask you in the final, what were a Charlene Brumskine and Jewel Taylor debate look like? Who has the edge? So let's match 2 of them. I know we've talked a lot about Weah Cummings. Let's look at Councillor Charlene Brumskine and attorney, I believe, Jewel Howard Taylor.
Yeah, Dennis, I think we get to see the quality that Charlene Brumskine brings to leadership. We all know that the current vice president spent nothing but a disappointment, as indicated by the performance. And so I expect something that's going to be based on substance versus propaganda, and Charlene's going to set herself apart. Let me use this time to also squeeze in something. There are facts and there are alternative facts. I was on this show here throwing numbers in terms of the growth rate. I threw numbers in terms of the unemployment and what percentages we're going to use. I presented facts in terms of educating our people about what the Cummings administration is going to do. It has been done here. To hear Gayman try to lecture me about numbers is pretty funny because all he has done on this show is prioritize comedy versus telling the people what his government has done. Finally, Dennis, it is important to note that Gilman embarrassed himself on the show. When you start saying things that you know nothing about, then you reach to the point where it becomes mere comedy. And here's the comedy of men trying to rationalize numbers and tell us how percentages are made up. Let me educate you, Gayman. When we talk about growth rates, your government took 3.6% growth rate average over the last term of Ellen and turned it into negative 30% in Weah's first year as president growth rate. When you average the growth rate out It averages over 6 years to 1.8%. In this case, it tells me that you have an underperforming government. And if even we took Ellen Sirleaf Johnson out of the picture and give you the benefit of the doubt and say, what have this government done in terms of performance with the rest of the countries, Guinea and Sierra Leone? It tells you that Guinea grew by 5.6%, Sierra Leone grew by 3.6%. And again, under George Weah, Liberia is 1.6%. So let's not come and put things here, but I will finally simplify it and give Dennis back the stage to ask somebody else. Gilman, you send your son to school, they gave him report card. They got 6 different semesters. Semester 1, he scored 40. Semester 2, he scored 30. The other one, 2020. The last semester, then he said, oh, I scored 80. When the average out of the man grade, I still 59. You celebrate? No, you don't celebrate. Numbers, finance, and production are based on facts, tangibles, and not comedy and false accusation. You have embarrassed your party because you don't understand the issues and you feel miserable here tonight. Learn the numbers, come back.
Thank you.
So I want to start here, right? So I remember when we're in Liberia, we used to watch.
Hold on, Peter.
Okay.
I just want to reset it. That is we're doing a head-to-head matchup between Councillor Charlene Brumskine and Attorney Joel Howard.
And both of them spoke
I'm
already.
going to use my time the way I want to use it. So
no. I know that's fine.
So you said Gilman can just talk whatever chocolate thing he's talking. So let me do the same thing. So I like how Mr. Gayman came in and he said one day, when we're in Liberia, we used to watch these big shots in cars and government officials. And Gayman looked like one of those people, right? And we used to like, man, damn, their life must be good. It must be nice to be them, right? I never thought this poor kid would actually get the information that I have to even sit here and talk to people that nobody's in Liberia. So it's funny to me. I like how you name drop a little bit on Gayman, and that's what you people do, right? Oh, we're in the meeting with the White House. Yeah, I remember that one time I was in the meeting with Pete Carroll, and he was somewhat 3-4 defense. Let's research who Pete Carroll is. We can all name drop in our profession, okay? What is broken? I know there's one of the things you said. What is broken? Everything. The entire country is broken because of people, excuse makers and liars doing that. I didn't want to say people like you after I said liars, to be respectful. But people who manipulate our people. How do you manipulate our people? You use dog whistles, slippery names. That's all you have. Is to disparage your fellow citizens, and that's how you escape competition. Slippery names and the men with a funny lifestyle. That's all you guys have. And then you have a nerve to talk about people being insulted. It's funny, it's embarrassing. Okay? Divide and conquer is all you guys have to show. You talking about Cummings have his school fees, his school has high fees? Yeah, that's how it is. This brother's son work at Brown. Brown costs $84,000 per year. Not too many kids get to go there. So if it's a good school, you got to pay for what you get. That's how the word works. How would Charlene fare against their VP? It would not even be a competition. This woman is a corporate lawyer. She understands the nuance of corporate law. She's an Ivy League graduate. She went to one of the best HBCUs in the world to study law. She went to Columbia University at first to study government. So when you talk about how she's doing fit, she has a world view. She worked with children, so she has empathy. She went back home to work with people. She was the highest when she took her bars in. So I have yet. She can talk about nations after nations after nations, how they coincide. I have yet to hear Joel Howard tell us about any other president's economic worldview. I've heard Charlene do that.
Thank you.
She can tell you about numbers. She can tell you how it works out. She can tell you what a country is supposed to have, what they're not supposed to have. Lastly, this woman is going to be the woman that's going to be sitting in the Senate as the president. How are we going to get 66 bogus deals? Go past that person who is a numbers and corporate wonk. That's what she does. Liberia's not going to be cheated with her in that room.
Thank you. Let me go to the incumbent team. And just to be fair, you took 3 minutes, 18 seconds.
Thank you. Let me utilize that time. All right. It's funny. It's funny that people who don't know their candidates will come here to debate them and represent them. All right. I mean, I have a whole bunch of sisters. I have many daughters. All right. But to come here and try to boast of Miss Brumskine record, somebody who have not had a real job, like working in government, holding a position in government, administering government. Tell us, your luminary lawyer, what landmark case have she won? What landmark case have she won? Tell us that. All right. And you talk about you send your child to school and it spends 6 semesters. Is it semesters or periods? Do we have 6 semesters in a school year, or we got 6 period? Eh?
I'm an educator. We have semesters.
Come on.
Yeah.
Hold on, guys.
Hold on. We're talking about Liberia. We're not talking about winter, spring, summer, fall. We're not talking about those here in America. We're talking about Liberia. We got 6 periods. We don't have 6 semesters in Liberia. We have 2 semesters in Liberia. Okay? Don't go fool the people there with your series. Don't do that. All right? Your alternative facts. That's why you call yourself Alternative Congress. You come with your alternative facts. They are not facts. They are not fact-based. All right? This is why you're messing up here, because you are not being factual. You are not being factual. All right? You don't come and say you're speaking facts and you're providing quantity or qualitative information. You are not doing anything here.
Qualitative.
Qualitative. Yeah. You are not doing anything here. What you need to do is still come around with the question. And my partner, Mr. Jerome Gayman, try to make it simple for you. Just like the way you are getting letters to read, please get a picture or a video of Mr. Cummings' retirement program. Bring out his certificate when he retired from Coca-Cola. Bring out his ring, what he was awarded. Because let me tell you, being in corporate America and then they let you go does not mean that you can have share in that company, because you have contract with them. Let me educate our people a little bit. You have contract, you're talking to somebody that giving information. You have contract with Coca-Cola, X amount of dollars, millions of dollars. And when you fail to deliver, they negotiate your contract and tell you say you got to leave. They tell you say you got to leave. I just told you here that on a Cummings' watch at Coca-Cola lost over $1 billion. Okay, and how can you say that the justice system did not investigate or will not prosecute the $70,000 that Louis Brown and others stole? And you want to tell the Liberian people that Louis Brown is not taking a salary?
Thank you.
Is that what you want to tell the people? You fire Alva Tokba and you hire him under the table. Is that how you're going to run the country?
Thank you, sir. 3 minutes 38 seconds. I just for the record. Let me go to Mr. Gayman on a head-to-head matchup between the 2 vice standard bearers.
Thank you very much. Like I told you, I come here with a wealth of experience and knowledge about politics and governance. Mr. Alva Tokba did me a favor. He sent me the official resume of Charlene Brumskine. And it is so shallow that I would tell you it would be a cakewalk for the vice president, Joel Howard Taylor, who have served as, when we talk about proximity to power, she served as first lady. She served as senator. 2 times she was elected. She have done a lot of legislative work. So that is easy. In the private sector, I grew up with her in New Jersey. She worked with several banks. She had worked in the private sector. When you look at Charlene Brumskine's resume here, she didn't graduate from Columbia. Please don't say that. She graduated from Bernard. That's not Columbia. That's, like you say, is a different institution. She said she graduated. She was a valedictorian, and she went to Liberia and started her. She went to Harvard, graduated HBCU. That's fine. There's nowhere in her resume where she said, while I was in the United States, I worked for Coca-Cola. I worked for the city of Baltimore. I worked for Washington, D.C. I interned here. I volunteered at the United Way. Nothing. No. And here they say she's been in Liberia practicing law for 20 years. If so, she just passed the bar exam to practice before the Supreme Court. 20 years. She also will be eating up when she went to Bassa in front of the people that's supposed to be her people. She said, my people, I'm here to tell you who I am. If you are a Bassa woman, the people know you. Why would you introduce yourself? She doesn't know her audience. Then she said, I am not here to talk to you, but I'm here to talk to BB people who are listening in America. So those Bassa people that went to that meeting, they are not people at her level. She says, I'm not here to talk to you. I'm talking to BB people. So you see why when we're talking about it matters when you need to have public experience. It matters. People you want to lead, you cannot insult them. She just did. She doesn't know her audience.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Gilman. We've gone 2 hours, 11 minutes. Let me use at least 5 minutes to bring in some callers here to chime into this discussion. And our first caller here is Anthony Gay. Anthony, you are live. You have less than 1 minute, please.
No problem. I'm a fast speaker. I'm so glad, at least Mr. Gilman has no power tonight to block me since he blocked me 2 years ago.
Oh, my man, go to the debate.
PAPD has 4 pillars. And part of that PAPD is said to create 1 million jobs in 6 years, or take 1 million people out of poverty. How many people have been taken out of poverty, or how many jobs has the PAPD has created? It's your own document. Mr. Gilman said that Mr. Cummings was a patient at the 14 military hospital. That's a black lie, or did we use, Madam? Tell you what, a blatant lie. It was used as a holding place for COVID for those coming from overseas who have been in a COVID-infected area. He was never a patient. Please call the doctor, me, or the nurse that treated him, because he was never treated.
Thank you.
The last thing I want to say, the $100 million worth of drugs was brought to the country, and the people walk free. Did the drug walk to Nigeria by itself? Just help us.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's take the next caller here. Elvis, let's be very quick. 1 minute is even too much. Elvis Morris, 45 seconds.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Jai. Hello to your panelists. I must commend the ANC guys. I think they had a better showing today on the debate. But let me be honest with them. The reality is, when you're talking about boards and corporate America, and Charlene being a lawyer for corporate America, when you compare her to Joy Howard Taylor, she will beat Joy Howard Taylor hands down. When it comes to being a politician in Liberia, when it comes to running for elected office, when it comes to being a vice president, a job that she's vying for right now, she has absolutely no experience when Joy Howard wins down, hands down. You guys can talk out of this thing with, like, you got half potato in your mouth about how, you work in the corporate America, you have financial experience.
Elvis, let us stop that. What you call talk like hot potato in your mouth? Please go to the issue, my man. No. Please go to the issue. Yeah. You can't disrespect our guests.
We're not talking about America here.
No.
We're talking about the issues on the ground.
Yeah, but so what hot potato got to do with this?
Kind of traction for Cummings. You can talk about all your experience. What does it matter if he's not getting the people in Liberia to gravitate towards him and making president?
Thank you.
It's all for naught.
Thank you.
It's all for naught.
Thank you.
So.
Let me take the next caller here, Philadelphia area code 267, 45 seconds.
Yeah, Mr. Dennis, thank you so much for the show. And I want to say thanks to the panelists. And my question directly go to Mr. Duke. Mr. Duke say that they are coming to fix Liberia. Can Mr. Du explain to the Liberian people what he means by he going to punch somebody in the face if they claim that they are coming to fix Liberia? Thank you so much.
Thank you. And your name?
My name is Lucien Vaughn.
Thank you. Let me take my next caller, Emmanuel Soma, 45 seconds. We have so many callers. Let's be very...
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. Let me say a very big thank you to you and a thumbs up to Mr. Gilman and the Gilman Veteran Show. But let's be very honest here. You cannot fight corruption with lies, and no amount of lies to fight corruption. I don't know who brought Cummings into politics, but Cummings is a contradiction of himself. When you say you cannot do the same thing and expect different results, look at all those around Cummings. Bunch of corrupt people. Louis Brown is the first government official in the history of Liberia during the Chancellor administration to build a $500,000 home in less than 6 months. And Chancellor terminated him immediately.
Thank you.
Louis Brown, he called it today. And he says he want to fix Liberia. He got a bunch of fraud.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me go to the next caller here. Aliyu Kamara, 45 seconds.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. First of all, let me just say I like the way you organize your questions and the points. You know, I need to learn from you. But a couple of things here. You do Howard Taylor and Charlene. I don't suppose to see, but that's an insult to do Howard Taylor in every sense of the word. Okay, that's just simple and insult. They're not equal in any case. Look, a couple of things. I want to learn something. Duke read a letter. That letter does not seem to be from Coca-Cola. The fact that he said that Cummings carry out improvement for Coca-Cola in 56 African countries and some other territories, I think that's what I heard. Africa does not have 56 countries in the first place. So how could he have carried investment in 56 African countries? What other territories does Africa have? So something is wrong. Something is wrong with that letter.
Thank you.
Mr. Gilman talking about 60,000 farmers with help and here and there. Dennis, it's 60,000 out of 5 million people. 60,000 farmers were giving subsidies for agriculture. The entire Mono River Basin will not go short of food. So that's just too wrong.
Thank you.
We don't have enough time to talk.
Yeah. Thank you. Let me take Merchant. 980 area code, your name and where you're calling from. 45 seconds.
Yeah. My name is Vasco Snow and I come from North Carolina. Okay. Let me congratulate the guys that representing the CDC, the Gayman. You know, we've been sitting here and thank you for the show. It's a very brilliant show. But I mean, all the questions you asked today, you can for them, for the guys that are representing the CDC, we are in power. We already started working and doing a lot of stuff. But you've been asking the ANC people all the questions you asked them, they didn't answer anything. Okay? You come in to fix the things that George Weah have done. You want to come and do more than it. But you haven't said anything to us. I don't know if these are the people that Cummings want to depend on to carry on his policy. Then they are not going nowhere.
Thank you. Let me take Mr. Darling Warwood. Go ahead, Darling.
So I have a very quick question for Mr. Gilman. Mr. Gilman, you accused Mr. Cummings of hiring murderers and killers. Your government is in power. How many of these murderers and killers have your government brought to justice? And what is stopping you? You are crying every day to Umpre Johnson war crime code. You're calling people murderers and killers, and you are sitting in the driver's seat. What is stopping you from bringing people to book? And what is stopping your government? Why can't you bring them to book? And to Dennis, I know you got questions that you are asking me people, but please, you have to make a follow-up question when you guys say something. Like for that I just mentioned when you mentioned that Cummings is hiring murderers and killers. You should have pressing on that. Why is the government pressing?
I didn't hear anybody say that.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Correct him before he leaves.
Abraham Conner, please let's write that down. Oh, the numbers keep. Yeah, go ahead. 45 seconds.
Good evening, Dennis, and good evening to my dear friend Michael Gilman and then Jerome Gilman and the rest of the panelists over there. Dennis, just certain things that we need to put into context sometimes. Screaming and yelling is not going to remedy the situation. You know, precisely, Michael Gilman stated about inflation. He said there was 32% inflation, and this government ducked it out of there. Now, in the report or response, Duke came in and talking about Michael don't know what he's talking. And he's talking about growth. I mean, those are apples and oranges. If a man tells you that he's talking precisely about inflation, this government brought it from 32 to X amount, direct your question in that direction.
Thank you, sir.
That's one. Two, typical example, let me just go there. Typical example, Mr. Cummings established school in that country that cost $800. And the barometer for excellence in that place is the Weah. You got a school that is called Sekou Sharif that tops the national exam in that place, and Mr. Cummings' school had never come close to that. And yesterday, he's talking about they will give people free education.
Thank you.
Stop the joke, man.
Thank you.
And
Thank you. Let me take Sarah's Dupo. 45 seconds. Go ahead, Sarah. We don't have Sarah? Let's go to Joyce. Joyce, you have 45 seconds. Go ahead.
Hello?
Hello? Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to ask two questions. Gayman and Gilman, don't confuse the people there. I just want to ask a question. On a law of respect, the current president, I know in your mind, it's not your president, but it's the president of Liberia. The current president in Liberia is George Manuel Weah. You disrespecting him. How are you expecting others to respect Cummings or respect him when he becomes president of Liberia? Will you accept that?
Thank you so much.
That's my question.
Thank you. Please, panelists, jot that down. William Keller. Let's go to William. 45 seconds.
Yeah, thank you. I would like to ask Coach from the ANC. Cummings got a famous line that always said, we cannot keep doing the same thing and expect different results. Knowing what we know about the Unity Party, Joseph Boakai is a complete representation of the Unity Party. Just in case Joseph Boakai goes second round, will Cummings support Joseph Boakai against President Weah?
Thank you. Thank you. Hannah Yati, you're live.
Yes, Mr. Dennis, how are you?
Excellent.
I have two questions. One for the Boakai team and one for the Cummings team. This question goes to the Boakai team.
That's a Weah team, not Boakai. There's no Boakai team.
Yeah. Okay. The ANC team. I'm asking questions.
EPP.
Why they say they want to rescue Liberia? What they have done for Liberia before they want to rescue Liberia? That's one of my questions to them.
Thank you so much.
And then, yes. And they come in, I have this question. On the TV, I have been watching. I have been watching the comment team saying that the day I have been watching and I think Gilman and asking questions concerning about the investment of Coca-Cola. I want those that are selling the committee to tell us why Coca-Cola let Cummings go. We want to find out.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Our next caller, Edmund Jones.
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, it's a nice. Yes, I've been watching this program. In short, I'm not versed in LIB politics, but considering what I've been watching, the gentleman in support of the ruling government are doing a very poor job
in defending the government. And that is a problem. That's some of the problems affecting the LRB.
Thank you.
You can't try to do the same old thing and expect a better result. And it hurts me to see these gentlemen. I'm sure.
Thank you very much. We're taking just two callers, Rebecca Sayer and Jackson Z. Let's start with Rebecca. Go ahead. 45 seconds.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for the show, and it's good that we come on this kind of a platform for us to like showcase our country and then interact with one another. I want to say thanks to to Mr. Gilman and Mr. Gayman. What I want to say here, with the Texas team, they're talking about justice, and we are in the U.S. here. We see that our children being killed, and there's no justice. Nobody has ever found out who did the killing. After this time, the country that we stay in, that is well investigated. There was a country where we got for war, right after Ellen regime, the 12 years, the Eskimos and the people that were the peacekeepers that were there, they all take off. My second thing here is like the Cummings thing, they are not real to us, to be very frank. Because in the first place, we got our sisters. I'm not a supporter, to be very frank. But look at Yassini Bay. Look at the Mula for her. Look at all the people we need from different countries that's supporting this man, that's receiving license on the social media. Are they not qualified to be a bystander there to him? That he will leave their house and go outside and go bring somebody else?
Thank you.
The need is not slippery.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jackson, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Thank you for accepting the call. Again, we just, it's sad, Dennis, when in our country, you have a situation where people who are very successful in our community, we vilify them. People who just steal, who want to collect paychecks from government, we hail them. The defender of the government did a very poor job because there's nothing this guy has ever produced. There's nothing besides collecting paycheck in our country, and that's it. They want to collect paycheck, make themselves better, and the rest of the country struggle. Liberia is struggling, and I hate when people compare America with Liberia. It is just sad to ever. The only thing you can compare America with Liberia is that the sun shines here and the sun shines in Liberia. It rains in America and it rains in Liberia.
Thank you.
Who live in America, who live in Liberia. You shouldn't be comparing innocent. There's nothing to be comparing.
Thank you.
We come here, we give wisdom, we go back home, we give to our people. So people need to stop.
Thank you.
The government has done a poor job. They have done nothing to improve in their Liberian life.
Thank
you. Took the country back into 10 years when we should be moving forward. So
thank you. Let's go to, I'm sorry, Vavi Kava, you have 30 seconds, and then we'll have Tavina Co and close it. Vavi, go ahead, please.
Yeah, hello, panelists. I want to thank you very much for your conversation. Hey, Michael Gilman, my brother from Detroit, Michigan. Look, Michael, I worked for Coca-Cola for 21 years. Please, and you know the facts. You got to stop telling these stories. You know me very well, and I know you very well. Please don't say that Mr. Cummings did not retire from Coca-Cola without honor. I worked for Coca-Cola for over 21 years, and this is a fact. Mr. Cummings retired with honor. On the 23rd floor of Coca-Cola in Atlanta, there was a celebration. Mr. Cummings is a guy that don't like to celebrate stuff. He don't like to put stuff on his shoulder. So don't come and lie and deceive the public that Mr. Cummings was not honored when he retired. Please stop the lie.
Thank you. Let's take the last caller tonight is Tavina Co. And Tavina should have been here. She got a headache that couldn't just stop. So Tavina, sorry, and glad to have you. Go ahead.
Yeah, very briefly, I got two questions on both sides. Can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. So for the, Weah supporters, so I like to hear their take on this whole drug case. Do they think that the outcome or the finding or the outcome of the case, was the right thing? And what are thoughts on it? I'm curious to hear the thoughts on that whole drug case. And then for Team Cummings, sometime this week I saw on social media a roadmap. I'm thinking that's a blueprint of how they're going to build Liberia or fix Liberia, whatever the choice of word is. But I was hoping, honestly, the model looks, it has 5 pillars. It looks to me like really quick work. But besides that, I was hoping tonight from this discussion that you guys were going to talk more about all those different pillars that you indicated. How are you going to, each one of them, how long it's going to take you to implement it, and just tell us more about it versus what we saw on social media. So as part of what a rebuttal or closing, help us understand that more. For somebody like us, that's what we hope to take from discussions like this. Thank you.
Thank you, Tabina. And thanks to our callers. I know some people are trying to call my direct line, but that's the reason we use the call line. A lot of calls, right? So let's get into it. I will give each team, we've been operating with the 2 minutes. So let's say that way. Let me start with Jerome Gayman. Your response to our callers for 2 minutes, and we'll alternate.
Yeah, well, when I'm not denigrating our callers, but those of us who work in corporate America for a long time, I told you so. You heard what Tavina just said, okay? When you put up your platform, when you have pillars, they have to be explained and they have to be followed by outcomes and the corresponding numbers to hold those things up. It takes a different mind to do that. I've been saying this, but because the Cummings folk do not have that capability. If they had it, they would have shared it. They just don't have it. And Tavina just nailed it. You cannot put these things, just put them on social media, plaster it on your wall, maybe cut and paste from somewhere and put it there without actually working the metrics. I don't have to say anything more. That's it. She said it in a nutshell.
Thank you. Team Fixer, response for our callers.
Yeah.
So, Duke, let me go real quick.
Go ahead.
I think I need to point this out. I think Mr. Gayman could only remember the last thing that was said. That's why he responded to one of the very last thing that was said. I think it's incredibly hilarious. Let me go down the list of things that I jotted down that I thought we need to address. Right? Mr. Gayman said, before I get to callers, Mr. Gayman said she never had a real job. She never even worked in government. As if government is the litmus test for what real jobs are. Real jobs are what a real job is. That's what happens when you have these Zing House kids. When we grow up, and the people teach us their book. We get to find out that you guys really didn't know anything a long time ago, and that's why we're broke. Okay, so listening to you, Mr. Gayman, really is intriguing to me tonight. Okay, and the mindset of that, right? That you didn't have a real job because you didn't work in government. That concept works no other country. No successful country that people think working in government is the litmus test of what success is or accomplishment is. Okay. Second thing, Mr. Gilman, to you, and you got to read the comments sometimes when you go home. You keep spewing things that you don't have proof of. In logic, the proof lies in the person making the assertion. You are asserting things over time after time after time. I think you think this is your show where only seditionists can call in, and if someone called to challenge you, you get to block them. But tonight you are being exposed of just telling lies after lies after lies. This is how you guys pollute our people's mind. This is embarrassing. You need to really stop. I thank that caller for pointing that out, okay? You said that Charlene. I'm talking about Gayman now. You said that Charlene Brumskine is not going to have a chance with what's the name? Our first lady right now, the vice president right now, because she worked at a bank. Because Joelle Hotel worked at a bank where that's a corporate experience. That's funny. Okay, she worked in bank and she was a first lady. That's where she got her experience from. So that means a doctor's wife can also be a doctor. That makes sense. Okay.
Thank you.
Bernard, no, hold on. I'm almost done. This is important. The Bernard College.
Then you start with the most important thing.
Let me land on this one, please. I need to land on the Bernard College. Here's what happens in real universities, sir, Gayman. Every university, what makes a university and the college a college? At universities, this is what I do for a living now. Universities have colleges within them. So the Bernard College is a college within the Columbia University. So she didn't go to another school. There are colleges within the university. Stop it. This is sad.
Thank you.
You already spoke, my man. Please.
Hold on. Let me go back to
remain coaching.
Hold on. Let me go back to the commenting. You can pick who can speak, but you have your opportunity.
Thank you. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
You know, I've read almost all of the comments here. And a bunch of them, folks that frequent your platform, they are so insulting. Something that we don't do on our platform. All right? And this is why Anthony Gay was blocked. You don't come on the platform, an intellectual platform, to insult anybody. Our platform is open to people, to everybody. Okay? Anybody here can vouch for that. I see the Teola Gibson talking, writing trash that all Gilman does. Because she was defending Stanton Witherspoon until I asked her, how many times are you going to bend over backwards to defend Stanton Witherspoon? And she's here tonight. She's at liberty, thinking that she can insult me and walk her way through. All right? If you stand for justice, you stand for fair play, equity, you are a good person, and you want to lead this country, Teola Gibson, you should first condemn Stanton Witherspoon. Alexander Cummings should come out. He always came out and made a position statement about corruption in the country. Here is a man, his whole team is in bed with Stanton Witherspoon, have not come out to say anything. And my good friend, Kava, Vafi, yes, you've been with Coca-Cola 21 years. All right? You live in Detroit. I've been in Detroit 23 years going forward. And you want to tell me about Alexander Cummings. I don't know whether it's Alexander Cummings who took it from Detroit to Atlanta, Georgia, but you cannot prove to us that Cummings retired from Coca-Cola. Whether it's on the 21st floor or on the 30th floor, you don't have any iota of truth, no document, no picture of Coca-Cola retiring Alexander Cummings. Show it to us. All right? Show it to us. Yeah. There's a caller who said Cummings contradicted himself, or he contradicted himself. He said you can't do the same thing over and over and expect different result. And here is a man talking about Emmanuel Soma, talking about Cummings hiring Louis Brown, who corrupted LPRC, and within months, will put up a $500,000 home on a highway. Today, Alexander Cummings, a man who's supposed to be high-skill corporate America executive, is not even able. The first judgment he had to make to pick a vice president will spend $400,000.
Thank you.
To convince Charlene Brumskine. And Charlene Brumskine will take that $400,000, part of it, to buy Louis Brown home on the old road. Talk about that.
Thank you.
Talk about that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Let me go to the Fixer team.
You know, Dennis, one group came on this show with facts and logic, and the other group were not prepared. They came here to spew gibberish, fallacies, And this is why you see the colors and those in the comment section are outraged. Let me start with the first point, and I think that I make it on the show. You know, at times we get in political arguments and engagements and we say things. On this show tonight, there's no way I could have stood on this platform and see somebody like a Gilman insult a dead body, a woman family that's still seeking justice, and allow that. That's something that got to me. I thought about my daughter. I thought of my mother. I thought of my sister. So it was provoked and was intentional. And you know what? It was in the moment. And I do not regret because, like I said, if I was the family member of that young woman, I would have done what I said on the show because you know what? It is wrong. And I hope Gilman understand that there is no place for something like that, not only on this platform, for in our community. Quickly, Dennis, Gilman keep talking about corruption. His government stole $16 billion. His Minister of Finance embezzled $25 million. To this day, there's nothing that has been done to be able, after the Crow report suggested a forensic auditing, they refused to investigate it. Also, Dennis, I texted you an official communication from Coca-Cola Media recognizing the retirement of Mr. Cummings and highlighting what he brought to Coca-Cola. Now the burden of proof is on the show to make sure that they're letting the audience know that an official communication acknowledging the retirement and the contributions of Mr. Cummings was actually issued by the Coca-Cola company. Also, let me go to the other comment about us responding and a roadmap. First and foremost, I don't know what roadmap was actually posted on social media. I can't speak to it. When we come on the show, we're given, certain guidelines and certain conversations to have. And the 2 minutes we have does not really give us sufficient time to be able to cover a lot. And what we answer was based upon what was presented. And I think we did a good job highlighting some of the things that we'll do differently as well. Maybe perhaps another time or on another platform, you can follow that. Finally, Dennis.
2 minutes.
Finally, Dennis, don't interrupt me, Mr. Gayman. I hope that we can't go into another scuffle here. When you're telling me that somebody said inflation 30% and I went to growth, then you honestly do not know what you're talking about. You see, there's something about practicality, reality, and putting things in perspective and context. What I said here, to be factual, that when you average out based upon the same World Bank report that these guys were highlighting, when you average out the growth percentage over the 6 years period as compared to other countries, George Weah government is still underperforming. When you come eternally to Liberia with Ellen Johnson Sirleaf and George Weah, on doing her terms, the first and the second term, she still outperformed George Weah. That's factual. And those are measures that we use to determine a successful economy. So I was not wrong by saying that, and I was right by saying that as well. So I just wanted to throw that on it. Finally, lastly,
thank you, Duke.
And the recommendation from the Core report suggested that a forensic auditing should have been done. Did the current government conduct a forensic auditing to clear its name? It did not do that. It did not live up to the recommendations of the Core report.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you very much for the exchange. Let me give you a few announcements here as we gradually draw this to a close. I know, I don't mind being here all night, but every Tuesday at 7 p.m., we have Abby Tyler's Healthy Living. So here on Focus on Liberia, we try to discuss everything, including your health. So join us every Tuesday at 7 p.m. for Abby Tyler's Healthy Living. Every Saturday at 7 p.m., that's 6 p.m. Central, the Liberia History Channel comes on live here on Focus on Liberia. This Saturday, we're going to be talking about President William V.S. Tubman. That's part 3 on President William V.S. Tubman. You don't want to miss that. Also, every Friday, we have the Literary Hour at 6 p.m. Eastern. You don't also want to miss that. We discuss literature. Professor K. Moses Nabwe and the scholar Jackie Sire, they come here every Friday, 6 p.m. to do justice to that topic. 4 p.m. on Sunday, we have they are on point where the unabashed and unapologetic sedition with his colleagues, they discuss from partisan perspective, and you don't want to also miss that. Every Tuesday, we have, today there was the hour of politics. Don't forget, the political bulldog, always here to talk politics. Again, gentlemen, thank you very much. I appreciate your time. As you've noticed, the format of the show tonight was to get everything I could get from you. So you saw me, I didn't even follow up, I didn't ask questions so that our listeners could get your side. This is our way of encouraging our politicians, our presidential candidates to come here and focus on Liberia and debate. At this time, as we conclude, we're going to be going around the horn and ask for your closing comments. You make your final pitch, both to the voters, our audience, and to me. Gayman, let Crow reporter finish here.
you get.
All right. So the fixer team started. So at this time, we're going to alternate again. We'll start with the incumbent team for your closing in 2 minutes. So everything that we've discussed, from why your candidate airs over the other candidates, how you're going to fix it, and the records, we want you to put all that together. In this election, President Weah will be defending his records.
Absolutely.
And Mr. Cummings will be making his case why he thinks he should fix. He's able to fix what, in his world, the Weah government has broken. So I want you to close with that. Let's start with the incumbent team.
Are you going to stick with the 2 minutes, or
Yes, I want to stick with the 2 minutes. I love to.
Good.
Incumbent, 2 minutes.
Mr. Gilman, you go ahead.
Okay, let me go ahead.
It will be incumbent, fixer, incumbent, fixer.
Yeah. That's the format?
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Gayman, you go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to thank Mr. Jayjay and our panelists here. Obviously, when I appear in the capacity of defending policy, I know what I'm talking about. People want to talk about the State Department report on Liberia, and I would like to pull up the Amnesty International report, country report on the United States. And it says here real quick, gender-based violence in the United States is off the chart. It also says here, excessive force, extrajudicial killing. It says here, at least 1,093 people were killed by police using firearms. It said 990 people were killed by police, and most of them minority Black folks. This is the United States we are talking about. Extrajudicial killings. This is not from a political like the United States. This is from Amnesty International. When we talk about our vice presidential candidates, Charlene is going around and all her surrogates says that she's a professor, which is a blatant lie. One does not become a professor at the University of Liberia, any university, by teaching one course without publishing. Ladies and gentlemen, we got to be serious when we are talking about these things. President Weah has done an excellent job in keeping peace in this country where we have no security as the previous administration did. The economy is being held up with no help from the international community. Our children are in school. Our health situation has been tended to. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't have to say this. You have to read it. On the other hand, our opposition talks, they talk, but when you tell them to get the corresponding numbers, nothing to read and recite talking points. And when it comes to 2023, that's why George Weah is going to be re-elected as president of the Republic of Liberia, deservingly so. Thank you very much.
Thank you. There's 2 minutes, 30 seconds. Let me go to the fixer team. You're closing.
Yeah, so let me jump in. In logic, the burden, Duke said there, I want to reiterate, the burden of proof lies on the one making the insertion. So the one who's saying something happened, they got to prove it, right? So you're not going to make, I'm not going to say, Mr. Gilman, you you got an elephant on your forehead, and you say, I don't have an elephant. I said, oh, prove you don't have an elephant on your forehead. That's not how it works with people with brains, with adult brains, okay? I can clearly see why for a long time the Zing House kids, like myself and Matt House kids, they didn't want us to have information. Because people like Mr. Gayman were the ones riding around big shots and just talking and people listening. This man doesn't even understand what colleges and university, how those two play coexist, how that works. Very, very embarrassing. Okay, all they can do is make excuses after excuses. This man trying to say there was over 1,000 extrajudicial killings because police shot people in the United States. Of course they do. America has over 300 million people, and you talking about 1,000 people. Do the math on that, sir, and tell us what's the percentage of that, and compared to your government executing people because they're doing an audit on them, about to expose them. Here's what we believe. Here's what I want to leave the audience with. This government, Mr. Cummings, believes in, when it comes to education, he believes in STEM education, science, math, technology education. Okay? He believes in that so much that he started a school to show what his vision is. When it comes to the economy, okay, he believes in a bottoms-up approach, creating low-skilled jobs. Okay? Mercantilism, government support in low-skilled jobs. When it comes to healthcare, he believes in what's called hearts and minds. Okay, Duke went to chronicle what the government plans on doing. You guys said we didn't say anything. I just want to repeat it for the end. Okay, we're going to insure kids to 6 years old. The government's going to take care of that. Yes, it's like that in America too. It's called Medicare and Medicaid. People, you guys can look that up. All right. He believes in for healthcare. He believes in preventive healthcare. So the typhoid, the malaria, all these diseases that 80% of the illnesses that happen in Liberia can be prevented. So he believes in preventive healthcare. These are things he's going to do is totally and quite different from what those people do. Lastly, safety of our people. Our people. He believes in strictly professionalizing our police force. So our police officers, people, when you go to Liberia, they stay on the street and beg for money all day long because they're not even taking salary. He's going to make sure our civil servants are taken care of because he understands how to create wealth in the country. And by so doing, our country will be better off for it. He's not going to be dependent on some international community to keep supporting him while we are supposed to be an independent country. A real government, a real president will figure ways, like Mr. Cummings does and knows, how to create revenue in a country. And that's what he plans on doing, and that's what we believe he's going to do.
Thank you. If you are watching, and we will also like help here. Our Cash App and Zelle numbers are on the screen. This is how we want to extend to Liberia so that we are on the radio from Cape Mount to Cape Palmas. So help us do that.
No, I have one thing for you before you go. The letter that Duke sent to you, is there any point, can you read the Coca-Cola letter? Because the audience is
come on now. Come on. Your time is up.
I'm trying to make my pitch for people to give me money.
You
and you stop me to talk about Duke letter.
I'm just asking you to read the letter for
why you didn't read all your time?
All right, let me go to Mr.
I wanted
Gilman.
to point out that you don't know what college is and a university.
Oh no, you definitely don't know. You definitely don't know because on the website it said they are two independent institutions.
Right, but now college is in
U.S.
right?
Stay with coaching. Stay with coaching.
Right. That's not how it works. That's not how it works.
Let's go to Mr.
That's a nice one, Pete.
Why Michael Gilman? Go ahead, Mr. Gilman.
Thank you. Please allow me my 4 minutes because I watch him. He talked for 4 minutes, little over 4 minutes. So
you're not the time police.
Yeah, I've been watching that. I keep in time here, my man. You know what? Oh, I get in my studio here. I'm in studio. I'm not using cell phone or something. Okay. You saw me holding up the Kroll report and the GSC report on the 16 billion, on the 25 million. That report came out February 27, 2019. Okay? And nowhere in that report, in fact, before that report came out, Jayjay had talk. We did our own investigation on the 16 billion. All right? And we published our findings on September 30th, 2018. And we came up with our, you can find it on our page, you can find it in the Grand Jayjay Forum. We said not one dime was missing before you talk about 16 billion. Because when we researched the central bank audited reports by KPMG, we found out that this country, Liberia, had a total currency put in circulation, which is total money put in circulation in our economy, was 17.3 billion. Ever. 17.3 billion. So how can anybody, any one person, take 16 billion out of there and keep it in their container? And then the country is left with 1.3 billion. And then a total gas station will bring 2.6 billion to buy 2 million of the 25 million that were used to clean up the excess liquidity. Where did Total get that from? How much money is in the banks when 16 billion is taken out? How much money does the old people, the young people, the market women, the Yana boys, the pimpin' boys, how much money do they have out of 1.3 billion? You see, when people come to these conversations and they know nothing about what they talk about, then they expose their ignorance. I'm sorry to say, but that's what the gentleman from the CPP, disbanded CPP, this great CPP, ANC, that's what they came with. Without education, without facts. Okay? You talk about Charlene Brumskine, that Joel Howard Taylor is no match to her. How? I asked you here about what landmark case did she win ever in her career? What landmark case that we can reference to say this case was fought by Charlene Brumskine and she won? It became a law in Liberia. You talk about corporate lawyer. What case did she win? All right? Just like Alexander Cummings always did, insult the leaders of this government, that they are incompetent, they are corrupt, and everything is what they have been impacted with. To go on this platform and insult Liberians, insult the leaders. And that was the question asked by Rebecca Sayer. The way you guys insult the leaders, what do you expect from Liberians tomorrow if you take over? Do you expect a peaceful ride on silver platter? They have not responded to the question.
Thank you.
No, you didn't interrupt me. I ain't 4 minutes yet. I'm looking at the time myself. I got 1 minute, 10 seconds left. Don't interrupt me. They have not responded to the question about Alexander Cummings being retired from Coca-Cola. And let me make it clear and simple here. Corporate America, if you have a contract with your employer, like the position Alexander Cummings had, when you are not producing, they let you go. You see it in football teams, you see it in basketball teams, you see it in those big companies. They negotiate your departure. They even offer you shares. So you will hear them talk about he's on the board, they offer his share, and they did this. That's what corporate America does. Let that come with picture tomorrow, the way they've been giving him letters to read. And he read it, and nobody understood it. And his colleague is asking the esteemed brother, Dennis Jayjay, to read a letter.
Thank you.
Dennis Jayjay as part of their team, which is very sad. Liberia deserves better. All right? Like you always say.
Mr. Gilman, you have gone over 5 minutes.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Duke.
Yeah, Dennis, thank you. Thanks for your time. Thanks for the platform here. Let me get to the facts. So, first and foremost, Gayman or Gilman wants to stay on the show and say it. People insult the president. Let me remind the Liberian people that it was the CDC who were putting the underwear of women on caskets with tampons and insulting Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. The records are there. In addition, when we talk about Charlene Brumskine winning a landmark case, please tell me which legislation that Joel Howard Taylor as senator has pushed, right, that actually created any kind of landmark reforms in Liberia. That's another part. Secondly, let's go back to the core report, and I'm glad he pulled it out. I doubt that this man actually understands what's in the report because he has shown on this show that he does not understand a lot of the things he talked. He relies on propaganda, but I will bring the facts. You're the facts. This is from the core report. It says that the CBL did not use all the banknotes for the intended purpose of replacing all legacy banknotes with new banknotes. As a result, new banknotes totaling $6 billion from LRD to $10 billion contracts were potentially injected by the CBL into the Liberian economy without legislative approval. In addition, it says, Core sought to obtain information from the CBL regarding the end receipt of the new banknotes, commercial banks, Liberian ministries, etc. However, the CBL has not been able to provide this information at either a summary or detailed transaction level. What does that tell you? That tells you there is something sinister going on here. That the people who investigated it could not even vindicate the government because what it asked for was never provided. Dennis, on this show, we provided facts and logic. We showed the incompetence of the ruling administration. We showed the destruction and the dysfunction of this government. George Weah rode on the backs of the masses and said that he was going to be an effective leader and better than Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. The numbers show that he has not been better. 1.08% overall growth versus Ellen Johnson, 7.6%, and even during the worst economy, 3.6%. But we offer a new perspective in Mr. Cummings and the CPP. Yes, what I will go back to. To the listening audience, I want to close with this. First and foremost, we will provide a process wherein victims that were actually victimized by government officials or people in that country will seek justice. And we will not allow our people to come on public platform to insult the family members of people or woman who was murdered by his government. In the with the issues of job, finally, Dennis, I think it's a really key point that I want those who are asking about policy issue. I say this and I'll close with this. Alexander Cummings realizes that almost 90% of young people are unemployed in that country. Our mothers do not have a fitting pension plan to retire, and government or employees are not getting paid on time. What we're going to do is introduce the 46 and 100 strategy. We're saying that over 40% in unemployment reduction over a 6 years period. By doing that, we're going to create 100,000 jobs annually. The way we'll do that by investing in ecotourism, by investing in agriculture, by cutting down corruption, by investing in those accountability sector and making sure we're redirecting monies into that sector. And Mr. Cummings, as president, will not take salary. He was invested in those accountability sectors to make sure that our people have the type of governance. On the issue of women, we're going to create a women council that's going to inform the decision of President Cummings to make sure that women are equal participants and they are driving economic results in that country. Dennis, I want to say thank you. We have provided logic, we have provided facts, not propaganda, and your listening audience will walk away knowing that we said something with substance versus comedy.
Thank you. And if you are watching the debate and you think, which team do you believe won the debate? Just text that if that's the fixer or the incumbent. I want to see the numbers. Fixer or the incumbent. Who you think won the debate? And the reason I'm quiet tonight and I'm not pushing that hard is because we won round 2. Today was your time to talk and exchange. I want to engage you. So come back. All right? So we want our audience to tell us who won, fixer or incumbent. Make that in the comment section and let's see. Gentlemen, I thank you so much for your time and for the opportunity for us to host you and discuss the future of our country. I always like to quote Dr. H. Bama Famule. He said, our mouth not gone. So it's better for us to talk than to fight. So anytime we have the opportunity to host Liberians to engage and discuss, I'm always excited to do so. So CPP, no, I said fixer or incumbent. So I don't want US CDC or people. We want to talk about the fixer or the incumbent. Who won? And you can go over and check. But thank you, gentlemen, so much. That's why we should be doing.
And what are you talking?
Coach Quaweay, I just went to the Brown website. Let us update your title there because you're not listening.
So next time we'll be inviting you back so that we can do part 2. And
Coach
if you are,
make sure you are updated on the list.
Okay. Yeah, I'll make sure I do that for you. Call the SID office.
Thank you.
And then they'll probably teach you what a college is and the university too.
So we're gonna close. We want to thank our viewers also.
You're not an employee of Brown.
Let's leave the Brown business now. we want to thank
That's not how you wear a French bow tie.
You didn't wear one.
You're just trying to act cool. I don't know what to do.
I'm not. Well, you're right.
You didn't wear one.
Listen.
You came to a gun.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Let's close with our song that says, "We are all Liberians." Have a good night and God bless you.
We are Liberians.